Welcome to Lincolnshire in the United Kingdom, home to the majestic Lincoln Cathedral, one of Europe's finest Gothic structures. But on the outskirts of the East Midlands town, you'll find relaxing countryside, serene farmlands and a vibrant ecosystem. But hidden away, out of view, sits the home of British karting. This is the Paul Fletcher International Raceway, and this weekend it plays host to the 5th and final round of the Champions of the Future. The circuit opening in 1994, event record set by Noah Montero in time qualifying on Friday, a 54.394 around this 1.3 kilometre circuit. The track in more detail though, a brilliant venue to go racing at. It's 178 metres down the start-finish straight, 200 metres out of the literal bridge down in towards hairpin number 1. Total track length 1,382 metres. Track wides from around 8 metres with an elevation change of 6, and that is all the way up the banking, over the bridge and back down the hill. But the turns though, 15 of them in total, 8 to the right, 7 to the left, and the 2 hairpins out there. That'll be hairpin 1 and hairpin 2, very appropriately named. Overtaking opportunities, well, pretty much everywhere here. You can do it in the Bruno Ferrari S's, the banking, over the literal bridge, hairpin 1, hairpin 2, the Fullerton S's, and we see them into Bobby Game Corner and the Mike Wilson Complex as well. Basically, you can't escape. If you're in the lead, well, you're going to have to defend it like your life depends on it, because you have got quite a job ahead of you over the course of the weekend. Top speeds, though, drivers reaching it in 2 separate spots on the circuit. You'll be reaching around 123 kilometres an hour into the break, in towards turn number 1 and the Bruno Ferrari S's, as well as into the braking zone at hairpin number 1. That translates to around 77 miles an hour, incredibly quick for short circuit racing. Average speed around 91 kilometres an hour, 57 miles an hour, meaning that it is a very fast and flowing circuit. However, those speeds we would have achieved yesterday. Today is a very different story. As you can see there from the live pictures, live here from the PF International Circuit, I'll be your commentator over the course of the day, Anthony Jordan. But the first race is coming up very, very soon. Qualifying Heat A versus C for the OK Junior category. Yesterday was a packed day of racing. We caught up with everyone, but here's what happened yesterday in the sunshine. The first day of racing for the OKJ category in the Champions of the Future took place at PF International, and it was Noah Baglin who put it on pole position in time qualifying. That qualifying pace, however, couldn't result in a qualifying heat win, as the first races would be going the way of Dean Hugendorn, Archie Lovett and Christian Costoya. Later on, Filippo Sala would be another qualifying heat winner. He would take 2 over the day, joining Costoya's 2 wins over the course of the day. Rocco Coronel was another winner as well, but disaster would strike with Edward Kennedy, Jos Mulder and Marco Gas having a bit of an accident at turn number 1. Iskander Tolfakari and Ian Kraling were 2 other drivers who certainly ended the day well, taking their race wins and the last races of the day on Friday. Well, as you can see from the footage you've just seen, a very different day yesterday to what we have today. It looks more like the 1st of January after a very a busy New Year's night, but we are racing. The sun is somewhere in the sky, but it's behind very thick clouds. There, though, on your screen, Noah Baglin, the outright pole sitter from time qualifying, starting this one at the front. Like we were saying from the races yesterday, has not accumulated that win or that pole position into a qualifying heat win just yet. His race results yesterday, a P3 and a P5. So again, he's been working on that pace, but the Prama's team's outfit has been quick over the course of the day and the weekend as well. So again, you can imagine that the team are really pushing forward in this one. As you can see, wet tyres are adorned on all of the karts at the moment. As you can see there, the gantry looking over the circuit. You can see a plethora of officials. You've got Ryan Manchester on the right-hand side holding the green flag. You've got Dan Ashton, the clerk of the course, in the orange high-vis. And you've got our race director, of course, Martin Bean, on the left-hand side of your shot. There is Rocco Coronel. He's had a really good start to his weekend, a P2 and a win yesterday. We're looking forward to seeing what he can do again. all of those wet tyres adorned on the carts. There was no wet running yesterday at all. It was all dry running, meaning that this is not the first time they've gone out in them, but in a race capacity, yes, it is. The first time these drivers will have raced on these wet tyres in anger. Field makes its way out to the circuit. Let's take you through the full starting lineup for this one. Noah Baglin and Rocco Coronel on row number 1. Filippo Sala and Riley Cranham will go from row number 2. Jarrett Clark and Zach Green round out the top 3 on row number 5. They'll have the top 6 on row 3, I should say. Asher Osteen and Sam Woolley, they round out row number 4. Jos Mulder and Zhang Jose on row 5. Then it's Mats Van Ruin and Jesse Phillips on row 6. Levi Sangara and Ando Arata on row 7. Merel Peldis and Lewis Islin round out row number 8. Mariana Lopez and Armin Kari Osman round out row 9. Alexander Dahlstrom and Victor Rad on the top 20 on row 10. Eduardo Kennedy and Thomas Ferrer on row 11. Florentine Hattemer and Nat Johnson on row 12. Michael McGowan from the USA will have Bautista Panetta from Argentina alongside Marcelo Muzelon and Matthias Witwer on row 14. Roland Nagy and Victor De Alencar on row 15. João Zozetto and Mark Pilapenko on row 16, with Maxim Bobachov rounding out the 33-car field. At the moment, temperature is looking okay here. Yesterday it was peaking in the mid-20s. We're around 23, 24 degrees, and there was lovely blue sunshine throughout the entirety of the day. However, though, with many of the European racers in this category, they've been used to hot weather conditions all the way around Europe. Yes, okay, we have been to some northern parts as well, of course. We were in Sweden last time out in Kristianstad. Very interesting weather there as well. Again, it was slightly sunny, slightly warm. But this is the first time back in the UK for quite some time, and for the majority of the grid, actually their first time here in the UK. So there's a lot of unknowns with a lot of the drivers in this weekend, but certainly over the course of today, we could see some brilliant racing as, well, unfortunately there, the 99 going no further, has rotated on the banking. That is Mariano Lopez, the driver from Peru. At the moment is, well, out of the race, is due to start on row number 9 in the 17th spot. But at the moment, he is facing the wrong way, and, well, yeah, his card is being recovered, and as soon as it gets recovered, that's it. There's no hope of starting, and unfortunately in his first race of the day, the Paralin, will go no further. Now, depending on how quick our marshals react to that, and they have reacted very promptly, we might be going around again, or we could be good for a start this time, because of course that is on the banking. It's on the first 2 corners. It's very fast through there. Over the course of yesterday, of course, flat out round the Bruno Ferrari S is going under the bridge into the banking. Today, however, will be a different story. Wet, greasy circuit. The worst sort of conditions you can imagine racing on, because these wet tyres, they are used to, well, absolute torrential rain. They're used to dealing with dispersing water off a track, but at the moment, it's just a fine layer of moistness over the track. It's certainly going to make it interesting, but we are green and racing for the first time today, and Baglin has that inside line and could hold it through the Bruno Ferrari S's for the first time. Rest of the field slotting in behind. Watch them through the banking here. Again, multitude of different racing lines. You can see how much the drivers are struggling for traction out there while these temperatures try and get up to temperature as quickly as they possibly can. Over the bridge they go then for the first time. Everyone looks like they've got through cleanly, and look at the breakaway here that Baglin and Coronel have got. Absolutely no drama. Coronel very deep on the brakes there, taking the wet racing line. I thought it was going straight on there at hairpin 1. He was very lucky for it to grip in at just that last moment as they head down now in the infield section, down into the Fullerton S's for the first time. Yellow flags are out at hairpin 2. Some drivers getting caught out there in the background, but eyes on the front here, and the top 2 are absolutely clean and dry. Here, though, battle. Jarrett Clark in 3rd place is doing a brilliant job. He's up several positions in this race. Jarrett Clark starting P5, 2 positions gained so far, but he's under pressure as down the inside. Zach Green tries to say hello, but is denied the opportunity to get that car down the inside. Stays there in P4. Across the line they go then. It is Baglin from Coronel, Filippo from Jarrett Clark, Then it's green from Asher Ostin, Cranham from Just Mulder, Mats van Ruin, Sam Woolley, Armin Kari Osman, Zhang Jose and Jesse Phillips as out of the final corner there. Some drivers tumbling down, and that is Lewis Islin, I believe, and Levi Sangara. Unfortunately, the Energy Course and the Birrell out of this race. They'll be right at the back unless they can get it restarted. Down in towards hairpin number 1 again. Here comes green. Nice move down the inside. Claims third place now. Can focus on trying to break away from the 2 behind. That is going to be easier said than done, though, over the course of this race, because, again, track temperature very low at the moment. So is the air temperature. 17 degrees is the air temperature for some of the drivers here. The last time they were racing out in Europe, they were in the mid-30s, maybe even touching the 40s. So, again, a drastic difference in air temperature that they've got. And there you can see, yeah, the 2 carts off the track, the Birrell and the Energy Course, going no further in this race. Sam Woolley's going to be picking up a warning flag in this one as well, the 8:31. Certainly not in the good books of the stewards so far in this race. We'll have to dig deep and see if we can try and pull open a gap here. On to lap number 3 now. And again, different racing lines here. Zach Green has, well, this is what we're talking about here. You've got drivers who are very talented in this category, who have raced all over Europe at every single kart track you can imagine. But then you've got the British drivers who have been here at this circuit time in, time out, who know it like the back of their hand. It's these little things that Rocco Coronel's really going to have to dig deep on here when he's right in the middle of all of these drivers. The lone Victory Lane driver surrounded. He's got the Prema driver of Baglin ahead of him. He's got the Jamie Green Racing, Zach Green behind. He's got Jarrett Clark, and then he's got Asher Ostin as well for CRG just behind him. So there's a multitude of Brits right up there at the top. But Rocco Coronel from the Netherlands certainly showing that the weather in the Netherlands also isn't that great, so he is used to conditions like this. The only downside is that it's a completely different circuit, but you can see that he is closing in here on Baglin. He's got the pace, and he's found the gap. Has Rocco Coronel, and he sends it down the inside. The driver from the Netherlands heads to the front and leads the way here in qualifying heat A versus C. Down in towards the Bruno Ferrari S's. Green has closed in as well. He's right on the rear bumper. Watch the 2 different racing lines here. Are you going to see them? No, they're actually going to take the normal racing line. They're actually going to take the same racing line there through the banking. Usually see the drivers fan out up the hill. You see the different racing lines just like that. Green trying to find the gap at the inside of the exit of the bridge. He's managed to do so now down and towards hairpin number 1. And he gets through even before the braking zone. So Green now up into second place. Is starting to push forward on this one. Speaking to a lot of drivers over the course of this morning, and a lot of them saying, I'm really glad that it's wet, because I went out in this morning's warm-up on the wet tyres, and I was 2/10 off the lead. So, you know, it's exactly what we need. So some drivers are pretty thankful that they've got these wet conditions over the course of the day. Quick look down further in the grid. A multitude of drivers have retired from this race that we've not seen, as Green goes for the lead here. Down the inside into the Mike Wilson complex. That's an incredible move. Again, it was a carbon copy of what Rocco Coronel did a few laps ago on Baglin, and I suspect that Green spotted that and thought, that wasn't too bad. I'll give that a go myself. Done that, and now leads the way here. Up through the banking they go. There is yellow flags out at the Fullerton S's. So drivers will have to be cautious on that one. You can see Cart Spruan on the exit there of the banking as well. I'll go through the drivers who at this moment are out of this race, because there is quite a few of them at the moment, which has allowed quite a few drivers to jump up the order. While that's calmed down a little bit at the front, as you can see walking away from the carts, that looks to me like Mats van Ruin in the CRG suit, who has not had a race. So the drivers who have retired in this one, looks like Mats van Ruin is one who we've just seen walking away. Maxim Bobrajov is one as well. Mel Peldis, Michael McGow, Victor Rad, Levi Sangara, Lewis Islin, Mariano Lopez and Florentine Hattemer. They are all the retirements in this race at the moment. And yes, can confirm it is Mats van Ruin, because you can see his number 11 cart stricken there at the exit of the Fullerton S's. Looking further up the order, the biggest movers right now. Nat Johnston, 10 places gained. Bautista Panetta 11 places gained, the same as Muzelon and the same as Roland Nagy. They've all gained a fair few chunks, but Mark Pilipenko, he's the driver that you need to keep an eye on, the Fusion Motorsport pilot, up 13 positions in this race. He's running in P19, so there is some big movers out of the course of this one. But we'll focus right now on the front because Green is continuing to open that gap now. Fastest lap of the race, 1:15.9. To put it into perspective, we were running well below the 59 second lap times in time qualifying. I think we were running around 56s in time qualifying for the juniors. So showing that the pace is drastically slower at this point of the day. A driver that we've not spoken about a lot actually in this one, the Filippo Sala. He's just popped up on our screen now with a warning flag. Filippo Sala is currently in P11. This is a disaster for the Italian. He had 2 qualifying heat wins yesterday. He was looking very good in the intermediate classifications, but right now in this one, he has certainly dropped back. And while on the subject of the intermediate classifications, Rocco Coronel at the moment is leading that with 138 from Martinez. Filippo Sala is up still in the intermediate classifications, 3rd with 126. Beats now Lovett, Marsh, Kraling, Asher Osteen, who's now got up to 7th from Kenzo Craigie in the intermediate classification. So again, those looking interesting. Gap here, Zach Green broken away at the front. But the eyes focused on the Coronel, Clark, Osteen and Baglin battle. Asher Osteen, who's just got past Noah Baglin. That's put him up in the intermediate classifications like we were talking about. So again, it shows how close it is in the points, even at this point of the weekend. Yes, okay, this is the first race of the day, but they had many races yesterday. 18 to be exact, 9 each per category. So they had a very busy day yesterday. And for Groups A and C, it was 2 races each for them yesterday. So they've really had to dig deep today. Of course, they've not had to worry about those slick tyres, so they could have pushed them a little bit harder maybe yesterday, knowing that they might not have had to use them today. A little bit of a slipping and sliding there for Jarrett Clark into Bobby Game corner. You can see the back end really step out. That gives Asher Osteen a sort of a green light right now to think, right, maybe I go for a move here, because you can see there the inputs that Jarrett Clark's putting in. That Forza kart is not glued to the track at all. Is it just temperature in the tyres, or is it the setup a little bit? Here's the replay of Green going for the move on Coronel, and incredible kart control there for Rocco Coronel to keep hold of that one. Again, so easy to get squeezed out into the barriers there at the exit of the Mike Wilson complex, but Coronel's kart control certainly showing through. On lap 8 now of 9, last lap board will be coming out this time to the field. Coronel setting the fastest lap of the race, but is 2.6 seconds down at the moment from Zach Green. He is clear and dry, but no pun intended with that one, because he's certainly not dry out there. It's quite wet. Jarrett Clark, though, Asher Osteen are right on that rear bumper of Rocco Coronel, so we'll keep an eye on that one as well. But there's Zach Green. Again, a flawless performance to Green on this one. We didn't see much of him yesterday, a P5 and a P9 for him yesterday for Green. So today, this is a really strong start to his day for Zach Green. He's still got a lap to go after this one, but at this moment, he's looking very, very comfortable in that kart, looking absolutely glued. The Green team knowing exactly what they need to do to make a kart work around this circuit. Final lap board comes out, then Green leads by 3.0 seconds now, as Jarrett Clark has got up into second place. Coronel now on the back foot as they go through the banking. It is under pressure from the drivers behind as well. But Zach Green pushing his way through. You can see there the gap, Clark holding on to it. But Coronel at the moment, Ash Osteen, that is the moment that we could see some battles. In fact, actually, I think Coronel has gone backwards even more now. So Rocco Coronel, who was leading the way, has, well, more dramas there. That looks like another energy course off the track. Could that be Edward Kennedy, the Canadian, out there in the 178? I believe it is. He's another retirement in this race. Final lap board is out then, and for Zach Green, he leads the way comfortably now by 3.2 seconds with a handful of corners to go. He will add to his tally and he was certainly helping himself out in the intermediate classifications, but that 5th and a 9th yesterday will plague him just that little bit. Out of the final corner, it is Zach Green for the United Kingdom across the line for qualifying Heat A versus C, and he starts his day perfectly, does the young Briton. Jarrett Clark will step up and sit in 2nd place at the end of that one, making it his best result of the weekend so far. Asher Osteen as well coming in 3rd place. It's a good result as he's pushed himself forward over this one, starting from the 4th row of the grid. Certainly a very good result for him. We can be delighted with that one as he heads back to the CRG tent. Rocker Coronel, after starting on the front row, not coming away with the results that he would want in that one. Still a good one though, P4. Doesn't need to be too disheartened by that one, but still it's not his best result of the weekend from Noah Baglin, Riley Cranham, Filippo Sala, and Kari Osman, 10 places gained. Jesse Phillips and Nat Johnson then rounding out the top 10. 14 places gained for Nat Johnson from the United Kingdom, again with the Jamie Green Racing outfit. So it shows then that the Jamie Green team are one to keep an eye on in the wet conditions here at PF International. Well, the field will make their way back to Parc Ferme. Let's go over the full classifications at the end of that one. Provisional, of course, have gone over the top 10. Jus Mulder finishing in 11th place from Endo Arata. Zhang Jose from Bautista Panetta and Thomas Radir rounding out to the top 15. And there you can see, struggling with the conditions, 33 seconds adrift from the front runners there. Marcel Totaro and Roland Nagy, Mark Potapenko, Victor D. Alencar, Vitva from Dahlstrom, Zozetto from Kennedy, Woolley, Ruin, Bobrajov, Peldis, McGow and Rad are all the retirements in that one. 33 carts started that race, 22 finished. Really showing how tough it is out there. Let's have a look at the highlights from that race. Baglin, good getaway for here, no drama. Clip that inside curb. That's exactly what you want for some drivers. They did get caught out. It's so easily done where you can get squeezed on to that outside grassy part. Then it's really tough to bring it safely back onto the circuit without having to really slow down. Later on, again, we saw the dramas for drivers further back. A multitude of retirements thick and fast throughout the course of that race. That was the first of them where Levi Sangara and Lewis Isling got caught up together in the opening laps. After that, you saw the likes of Victor Rad, Michael McGowan, Mara Peldis. They were all later retirements in the race. This was the first lead change down the inside for Rocker Coronel through the Mike Wilson complex. Nicely done. But Zach Green saw that overtake. This was the other angle of it. And he thought, well, if you can do that, maybe I could do it too. But a bit later on in it, there you could see the big oversteer moment for Baglin out of the bridge. Green piling on that pressure and was able to find the gap in the latter stages of the race on lap 4 of 9. Then again, the same move. You can see the inside line, it doesn't work out. It runs out wide, then positions it beautifully right down the inside there. Coronel was so lucky not to clip that outside barrier there. That kart control, absolutely phenomenal, and putting himself in 2nd place, but later, unfortunately, dropping down the order. And there again, you see one person do it, you see two, then you see 3 people do it, because Jarrett Clark then did the same thing to push himself up. Green would go on, though, to the end. The Briton starting the day well after a challenging day yesterday, puts himself on the top in his first race of the day. Well, Groups A and C for the juniors will be out later on today. Make sure you stay tuned for that one, but they'll be with other drivers, of course. We now head over to the senior category. And yesterday in the dry conditions, again, was another very eventful day. Here's what happened. The first day of racing for the champions of the future, and in Friday on the OK categories, it was Noah Montero fastest overall. Scott Lindblom and Salim Anar would start the day well. Scott Lindblom taking 2 wins over the course of the day. Joe Turney would start a trio of wins as well, ending the day on top with 150 intermediate classification points. Other winners included Zach Drummond and Freddie Lloyd. Also, Jimmy Elias, who would end the day with only 1 qualifying heat win, but certainly proving that the pace is there with the Victory Lane team. Well, again, yesterday, a very different day to what we see today. Of course, those dry conditions, you can see from that shot there, it is a fine mist. And here in the UK, we do have a famous saying, it's that really dry rain. It's that rain that doesn't get you wet in the clothes, but certainly soaks absolutely everything out there. It's very, very strange. There, Noah Montero on your screen. The driver starting this one on pole position. Brilliant job from him. Outright pole overall, of course, in terms of time qualifying. But yesterday, interesting day for the driver from Portugal. DNF in his first race. Recovered, though, with it. Second in his second qualifying heat. So certainly the pace is there. We saw it from qualifying. We see it now in the qualifying heats. It's just, yeah, those chopping and difficult conditions certainly have played havoc. Another driver who's had some good results. Freddie Lloyd for the United Kingdom. He starts on the front row for this one. Second in his first qualifying heat, taking a win in his second. Had a little drama, though, in morning warm-up. Went out on some wets. They weren't up to temperature. He turned into the corner. Kart didn't turn. Things went bad. But that was earlier. Now everything can be sorted out now, and he can get sorted for this race. So we'll keep an eye on him, of course. Again, another Briton who knows this track inside out. So drivers around will need to be careful. And the drivers who are around that area will be the likes of Joseph Smith, as well as David Walter from Denmark. Again, I'm sure another driver is used to these horribly wet conditions. There you can see from the graphic, wet tyres are adorned on all of the karts. And there you can see on board with Joseph Smith rocking that fresh set of wet tyres. They'll have used, of course, a set in warm-up. But, of course, for the races, brand new sets allocated for this one. But Joseph Smith there for the United Kingdom, racing all the way around the world here with the Victory Lane team. Certainly been a driver to keep an eye on, P4 and a P3 over the course of his races yesterday. So really did deliver in those early stages, but looking for top two finish, maybe even a race win here as he gets himself ready. Well, as you can see there, recovery vehicle on circuit. We are just waiting for the multitude of karts that are stricken out on the circuit. So as you can imagine, all four drivers on the trailer right now, taking the slow drive back to Parc Fermé, giving us a little bit of a wait before we see the next race heading out onto the circuit. But nevertheless, we'll chat a little bit more about the drivers on the grid in the next race. And from Denmark, there on your screen, David Walter, primed and ready on the outside row going in towards turn number 1 through the Bruno Ferrari S's. But P3 and a P5 yesterday for him. Some really strong results there. But again, just waiting to see what he can do. Now, as you can see there, the sidelines starting to fill up with people. And then you can see some of the drivers off to your right-hand side of your screen. Jimmy Elias is there in that picture in the middle. The driver from France who did take the last senior win yesterday, which you'll have seen in the highlights. Miguel Costa from Brazil, another Victory Lane karting driver. Again, good results. Did get caught out yesterday, though, under a yellow flag. Looking at the results on this one, I can see he did pick up a post-race penalty for overtaking under the yellow conditions. But again, that's so easily done when you're racing at this sort of level. You know, the tunnel vision kicks in. You focus purely on the kart that's right in front of you. And, you know, you don't really necessarily think about all the flashing lights and the flags that are around you. Obviously, you do need to be careful. There, the hard-working marshals out there in the rain and in the mighty PFI marshal post out on circuit. We could not go racing without the dedicated Orange Army, so we do thank them very dearly for all their hard work that they have been doing over the course of the weekend. And as the day progresses today and, of course, tomorrow, and I've been looking at the weather forecast for tomorrow, and it's not looking too great, I would say. Right now it's looking pretty bad as well. Tomorrow could be even worse. Gus Lawrence for the PF International Karting Team. If ever there's a driver who you would think would know this circuit inside out, backwards and forwards and upside down, it's this man here. Gus Lawrence, P4 and a P2 yesterday. But in these wet conditions, I can imagine we could see some moves through the field because, of course, the team based here at the PF International Circuit Him the sole driver for the team as well. So they've had a lot of testing here, a lot of development here. So if they know how to set up a kart around this PF International Circuit, they can certainly do so. There for the Beyond Racing team, I think a little bit there as well in the background. There on your screen is Felipe Carras. Now, Felipe Carras here, well, what can we say? 2 DNFs for Felipe Carras yesterday in the dry conditions. It wasn't for him, the Frenchman. So he really needs to step up today. Today is such an important day in these wet conditions. He needs results here because his points at the moment are putting him well into the danger zone where he might not even make the superheats tomorrow, let alone the final. So for Felipe Carras, really needs to dig deep over the course of these next few races in the wet conditions. But of course, that's going to be easier said than done. Finn McLaughlin will be starting alongside Felipe Carras. And Finn, again, another driver who knows this circuit very well. Now a newly released Red Bull Junior driver. He is certainly a driver that you do need to be wary about out on circuit because his pace is very quick over the course of the weekend. But we'll have to see what the Irishman can do in these wet and horrible conditions here at PFI. There's no sugarcoating it. It's not great out there, but all the drivers, mechanics certainly working hard. The only thing they can come away with that's good is that the pre-grid and the dummy grid is undercover, so they don't need to worry about it raining too much until the race starts. And the engines do fire up. They will make their way out onto the circuit. Let's take you through the full starting lineup for qualifying heat A versus C. Noah Montero and Freddie Lloyd start on row number 1. Joseph Smith and David Walter on row 2. They'll have Miguel Costa and Gus Lawrence on row 3. Felipe Carras and Finn McLaughlin on row 4. They'll have Gabriel Kernigan from Brazil and Olin Gali from Brazil, making it an all-Brazilian row number 5. Matthew Higgins and Emilio Coivisto round out row number 6. They'll have Stylianos Kolovos and Radek Vavra on row 7. Bernardo Bonaldi and Alexander Bondarev from Ukraine on row number 8. Alan Garcia from Spain and Noah Wolf from the United Kingdom on row 9. They'll have Jensen Graham and Jensen Burnett on row 10, rounding up the top 20. Peter Stiller and Simone Bianco give us an all-Italian row 11. They'll have Leon Brunner and Mark Brovko on row 12. Alexander Chartier and Louis Adam round out row 13. They'll have Maria Neto and Alan Crochet on row 14. Yang Ling and Leo Nilsson from Sweden round out the 30 kart grid on row 15. And already we're seeing dramas. That is Miguel Costa, who should be starting P5, is out of this race. What a shame. The Brazilian goes no further. And already I was seeing other karts off the track as well, further up the order. Now we're having, I think, drama maybe from Aaron Garcia in the DPK, because he's not clocking up on my screen, the same as the Kart Republic driver of Stylianos Kolovos. They're not clocking up on my order. Now there is a stricken kart there on your screen. It looks to me like it's a Paralin race suit. We've seen that Victor has gone through, but I'm not seeing any other numbers here that have a Paralin on board that could be off the track. So we'll try and figure out who that is at the moment. But already, drama ensuing here as the field trying to get any temperature they can into the tyres. I can't stress that these conditions are not favourable at all for wet racing for the drivers. I mean, these wet tyres, they work so well in dispersing water when there's a really good chunk of standing water on the circuit. They can clear it really quickly. When you get races like this, where it's just a very thin layer of water on top of the circuit, they don't work to full potential. You get lots of understeer, you get lots of oversteer. They do work still, but they're not. It's still not the most favourable conditions. So it certainly gives a new dynamic, a new challenge to the drivers. But of course, an unknown for a lot of these drivers. It's the first time that they have raced on these Maxxis wet tyres on this circuit. And oh dear, in the background, this is a very, very shaky formation. Now we've got drivers getting in position, but this is well after the red line on the circuit. So they do need to be careful, but we do go green and racing, which is good to see. And Montero gets a good start. Lloyd, once again, exactly like he had in morning warm-up. The cut understeers straight off the circuit, but he gets it back on the track, albeit with a little bit of a bumpy ride over it. But everyone gets through as the rain continues to fall here. McLaughlin to the outside, takes the wet line onto the bridge, try to sweep through, and he gets alongside Gus Lawrence, and he moves up now into another position. Noah Wolf as well on the outside as round goes the 2:42 in the background. That's Peter Stiller from Italy. He will go no further in this race unless he can get that restarted. David Walter takes the lead of this race. This is superb. The driver from Denmark is flying in this one from P4 on the grid, the outside of row 2, and he's pushed his way forward. Smith down the inside of McLaughlin. McLaughlin again taking the full wet racing line, but Lloyd's able to go around the outside here, albeit a little bit squirrely. Can't hold on to the position, and now McLaughlin holds onto it as Freddie Lloyd again trying to get that wagon back down the inside there. Not going to go his way. McLaughlin again looking to the inside. You can see in these early stages of the race, this is purely trying to get these overtakes in on the first lap while everything is trying to get up to temperature. But as the race gets on, you'll see that the progression really starts to open up. David Walter then leading the way from Joseph Smith. McLaughlin from Montero. Lloyd Lawrence from Kerneken at the moment. Further down the order, drivers who we've lost out, Silianos Colavos, Alan Garcia is drivers that we've lost. We've also lost Yang Leng as well for the Ward Racing team from China. Also out of this race. And, well, speaking of it, there is Peter Stiller's helmet there on your screen, clearly showing he's out of this race. Walter defensive into hairpin 1. Smith with the outside. Can he get the switchback? Answer is no. Didn't have the power there. That switchback didn't work to his full advantage. It's allowed McLaughlin to close in. And you can just see here how difficult this is for the drivers. All the movement that they're putting in there on the steering input. It's absolutely astonishing to see them race this close with each other and in these conditions. And again, down the inside there, Bobby gained corner, and McLaughlin's going to say 2 for 1 on that one. But Smith comes back through. McLaughlin's going to force it out through the Mike Wilson complex. And he says, thank you very much. Peter Stiller's not had enough, though. He's back down the inside as round goes Smith. It's a full 360, back on the power. Incredible control. He's not happy at all. He's saying, right, that was not my fault. I was clearly where I was. He sent it down the inside of me. Well, it's still, he's not lost out too much, and he's still in with a chance of closing up to the lead group on this. But that's certainly a shaky one. Well, that's brought Lloyd Lawrence back into play now. You can see Gus Lawrence there just in the background. Other drivers as well who have made moves. Higgins is up 4 places. Kerneken up 1. Noah Wolf is up 9 places so far in this race. The young Briton you can see in the yellow helmet coming into the background shot there. And he's actually bringing Leon Brunner along for company. Leon Brunner's at 13 places at the start of this race. So a superb drive in the early stages. Well, Finn McLaughlin leads the way. This is good stuff for the Irishman. Certainly delivering over the course of this weekend in Group C in the seniors. His first race certainly was a tough one for McLaughlin. He dropped down to P12, so not the results he will have wanted. His second qualifying heat a little bit later on in the day, that would have been against Group D, was fractionally better, but again, P12 again. So 2 P12s for Finn McLaughlin. Qualifying heat win in the wet, but certainly put a smile on the young Irishman's face. Lloyd in second place. Gap is half a second. We'll keep an eye on that one because the lap times at the moment, they're looking interesting, but Freddie Lloyd on that last lap just put in the fastest lap of the race, actually 4/10 of a lap faster than McLaughlin on that last lap. David Walter still there in P3s, having to now deal with Gus Lawrence just in the background, and Lawrence has got through, but eyes on this top fight here because McLaughlin is in a danger zone here now as through wheel banging goes Freddie Lloyd, tries to get alongside, and he does get alongside, and now takes the lead of this race. McLaughlin, I can imagine, won't be too happy with that one, but again, racing is racing. It was fair racing there out of the hairpin. You can imagine the two making contact, but it was wheel against wheel, just showing how slippery it is out there, and it was very close to possibly a disastrous moment, but the two still in this race. This is Matthew Higgins here. Matthew Higgins up 7 places, is battling now with David Walter from Denmark. pushing his way through on this one. Here comes, though, Joseph Smith back down the inside. Says, all right, you two, you can battle away to your heart's content. I'm going to sneak through, and I'm going to take this one away from you. Moves back up to P4 now. And he close in on Lawrence. I mean, that's 2.6 seconds further up the road. That's easier said than done, as still Higgins fights away with David Walter. It's allowing Noah Wolf to close in now. So again, these wet conditions promotes this sort of racing. You see these close battles, and of course, if you're on your own and you're not battling away with anyone, you can just take the normal, you can take the optimal racing line. You don't have to worry about anyone else. And of course, with that, Wolf has closed in on this battle. 11 places he's gained so far. Drivers that we've lost at the moment, unfortunately, Leon Nilsson out of the race. Mark Brovko, Miguel Costa, Stylianos Kolovos, Adam Garcia, and Peter Stiller. Still the retirements as we're on lap number 5 now. Weather right now doesn't look like it's improving at all, as there's drama at hairpin number 2 out on circuit. There's a driver facing the wrong way outside my commentary box, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on, as Higgins again back down the inside, but this time it's on Joseph Smith, and now Matthew Higgins steps up into P4, pushes himself along. Can confirm the driver involved in that spin further down the track is the 399 by the looks of it on my screen, but I'll try and figure out who that is later on. Noah Wolf is another driver now looking like he wants to make moves. David Walter is on the back foot here as he tries to defend this position. You can see there the defensive line. Wolf taking a lot of that inside curb, and you know, Wolf says to David Walter, let's try and close in on this battle. But again, you got that 2 different racing lines. You've got the optimal wet racing line you would take on the outside, which looks very unorthodox and not good at all, but the power you can put down much sooner if you take that line versus if you take the normal, of course, racing line, which is all covered in that fresh rubber from yesterday. But of course, overnight, would have put the track back to green conditions. A very interesting one, though. There, Noah Wolf. Look at those stats there. Started P18. The qualifying wasn't for him over the course of Friday's racing. So certainly has to push hard in this one. But he's up 12 places, doing what he needs to do, as there's a big moment there for David Walter, and that is an engine seizure if ever I've seen it. That kart just went straight off the track. No other driver involved. That was mechanical, 100% in nature, and for David Walter, what was looking to be a really good result for him has ended in disaster. Well, he gets up and walks away, which is good to see, but that is a scary, scary moment. This is the battle for P2. Gus Lawrence has closed in on Finn McLaughlin. Now, this could be an interesting one here. Let's see what these two can do. Of course, both of these drivers very knowledgeable of this circuit at PFI. But who is more knowledgeable here at PFI? Let's find out. McLaughlin and Lawrence. Line astern on lap 7 of 11. And Lawrence is going to send it straight away. No drama there. Straight down the inside through the Mike Wilson complex. And no drama whatsoever. Yellow flags out, of course, on the start-finish line. So that overtake came in just at the right time. Of course, David Walter's kart stricken there on the start-finish straight. But for Gus Lawrence, this is what he needs. This would be his best result of the weekend for Gus Lawrence. Matching it from yesterday, P2, and you can see there, 4th in the intermediate classifications. Tony, of course, can't be beaten at the moment. He's got 3 wins. These drivers, of course, on their 3rd heat now. So not matching it. Lloyd, though, is the closest. 2nd and a win yesterday. Another win right now puts him only 6 points behind Joe Turney. So you can imagine the pace is strong all the way throughout the field. On lap 8 here, and Gus Lawrence, look at the pace here that he's got. The gap that he's opened up already on McLaughlin, absolutely superb. You can see the driving style here. Off the normal racing line, you can see he was much tighter into Bobby Game corner there. You can see that he was just feathering the brakes, feathering the throttle through the corner, real finesse driving there from Gus Lawrence, pushing his way through the order right now. 4 places gained and is hunting down Freddie Lloyd in the lead. There, a look at some of the stats out there. Of course, everyone on the wet tyres, but you can see the position gains and loss as well for both of them. Gus Lawrence 4, for Finn McLaughlin 5, showing that, yeah, these wet conditions really play into drivers who may be a little bit more knowledgeable of this circuit here. So that's going to really shake up that intermediate classifications from yesterday from drivers who did struggle in the dry conditions with the sheer pace from the European scene heading over here to the UK, but certainly a very dramatic opening races of the day. Again, a multitude of retirements out on circuits. It's been a real tough one on the drivers this weekend. PF International is not for the faint-hearted. It is a fast and demanding circuit, but so far, a lot of drivers certainly having a good one. Lap number 9. And Lloyd leads the way from Gus Lawrence. The gap is 2.8 seconds. I suspect we're not going to see a change of lead, of course, knock on wood, despite anything that may happen. But Lloyd looking very comfortable at the moment in the 227. You can see here again from his driving style, very similar to Gus Lawrence, leaning out of the corner there, trying to put the weight of the car on the outside there to try and grip it into the corner. This is some of the replays from the start of the race. And there you can see Volter and McLaughlin getting through on Joseph Smith. This was the spin from that one. That was, well, obviously you had Freddie Lloyd down the inside. And there was Lloyd going around. There was another thing. Okay, so that is the Kart Republic. That was Stylianos Kolovos. He spun then on the opening lap, on the warm-up lap, and that's where it went a bit interesting. That moment there, whew, if you wanted to aim for the perfect spot to hit a kart, it was there. And, well, this dramatic moment here, that's a big hit into the wall there for David Walter. Substantial damage to the rear of that kart. And, well, you can see just not happy at all with what happened there. There's a kart going very slowly on track. The 364 out on circuit. Well, this is Yang Leng. So that is not actually a breakdown. That's the field coming around now to lap the driver from China for the World Racing Team. But smart control gets it out of the way and puts himself not in the way of the race leaders. So you can see Gus Lawrence closing in very behind us. Blue flags come out on the start-finish straight, as well as the last lap board. Lloyd leads it now by 2.4 seconds. That gap has come down from Gus Lawrence. Took a big chunk of time out of Lloyd's lead on that last one, but is not going to be close enough to really avenge it on this one. Higgins as well, superb race for him. 8 places he's gained in this, has pushed himself up into P3. McLaughlin from Wolf, Smith from Graham, the top 7. And again for Wolf and Jensen Graham, 13 and 12 places gained apiece. Noah Montero, who started this on the front, has not been dealing with these wet conditions too kindly and has dropped down, unfortunately, to P8. Ollie Galley as well. P9, but is up now 2 places, actually into P8. He's just got past Noah Montero. Gabriel Kernigan as well, still rounding out the top 10. But here on your screen, Freddie Lloyd may have a magnifying glass over his eyes at the moment in the 227 in that race, but certainly it's a superb one, and he matches his result from yesterday, claiming another qualifying heat win. He will jump up to 2nd in the intermediate classifications as the young Briton takes his 2nd win of the weekend. Gus Lawrence crosses the line. He finishes in P2 for the PF International karting team. And then the energy course of Matthew Higgins finishing in P3. Finn McLaughlin rounds out P4 from Noah Wolf. Joseph Smith from Jensen Graham, the top 7. Noah Montero from Olin Galley. Gabriel Kernigan finishing in the top 10 out on circuit. Montero at the end of that one actually dropping to P9. Galley finishing in P8. So drivers will make their way back to Parc Ferme as the rain continues to fall here in Lincolnshire in the United Kingdom. Let's have a look at those full results. We've gone over the top 10. Bondarev finishing just outside in the 11th place in front of Emilio Coivisto. Leon Brunner from Radek Vavra and Simone Bianco rounding out the top 15. 16th place downwards. See Chartier, Neto, Crochet, Caras, and in from Jan. Bernoldi, Burnett, Volta, Nilsson, and Brovko, the 26 carts that showed us finishing the race, but drivers who were out on the opening laps: Miguel Costa, Stylianos Kolovos, Adam Garcia, and Peter Stiller. And you can see Peter Stiller's helmet still there on your screen. Well, drivers will head back into Parc Ferme. There onto the weighbridge goes Freddie Lloyd, checking everything is all good. And I think he gets the thumbs up from the scrutineers down there, the technical crew. We'll get them all sorted, of course. So all the results that we talk about right now, of course, are provisional, pending any post-race technical issues or anything from race control as well. But let's have a look at the highlights from that one, as the spray kicking up on the circuit makes it a big challenge for the drivers at the back. Montero's start, initially, great start, held on to the lead, and for Lloyd, on the outside there, I thought he was round there at turn number 1. There was no way he can control that car over the curb, but he managed it. But the eyes were focused on David Walter at the beginning of that race. Brilliant start for him as he pushed his way through, as there you could see Peter Stiller out of the race on that opening lap. But here, down in towards hairpin number 1, well, what can we say for him? Straight to the lead for David Walter. No drama in that opening lap. His drama would come later on in the race. McLaughlin having a good run as well, pushing up the order, gaining good positions in that one. In the end, finishing P4 with a gain of 4 places. But Smith as well certainly was a driver to keep an eye on. Still had a good result, still there in P6, despite his drama that he had in that race. And that happened on the next lap, where he just squeaked past Noah Montero. And you can see there just the pace from Montero just wasn't there. Mr. Smith down the inside, he took the lead of the race, but then McLaughlin got through. Walter tried to get back through, but then keep an eye on Freddie Lloyd just behind, because this is where it gets interesting. Lloyd finds the gap on the inside, goes for it, and there just it was the tiniest of taps there for your man Joseph Smith, but again, he threw his hands up in protest and saying, no, that wasn't my fault. But again, of course, race control has a multitude of cameras around here. I think there's 70 cameras plus the rest out on circuit. You cannot get away with anything out there. So, of course, race director Martin Bean will be in constant communication with our race control team. They'll have Joanna and Mikkel in there, keeping an eye on all the cameras. But the racing going on, and Smith certainly recovering back in that race. Matthew Higgins, though, in the energy course, really impressed with Higgins on this one. Great drive from him, pushing his way through. And then this moment here, completely unsure. It must have been an engine seizure, because something going off the track like that so violently has to be something of that nature, as Gus Lawrence made his move on Finn McLaughlin. But across the line would go Freddie Lloyd. A superb win for him, makes it his second win of the weekend after his P2 in his first race yesterday. So again, we'll see what happens later on. He is closing in on Joe Turney, but Joe Turney still continues to be unbeaten with 3 qualifying heat wins out of 3. Well, qualifying Heat B versus D is heading out onto the circuit next, and starting this one on pole position after having a superb time qualifying, the driver James Anagnostianis from the Prema Racing Team from Australia. I think with his best qualifying result of the season in the Champions of the Future. We caught up with him after time qualifying.
Well, qualifying Group 1 for OK Junior here at PFI for round 5 of the Champions of the Future. James Anagnostianis of Australia, you are fastest in group. Congratulations. What a feeling. I think it's the first time we've seen you on top in a group this season.
Yeah, it's really good. I've had pretty poor luck throughout the whole of the year in Champions of the Future. So yeah, it's really good for the last round to be in pole now, and now we just work our way through the heats.
Yeah. How does it feel to be here at PF International? It's a well-known circuit around the world. It's the first time we've been here in a while as well. And how are you finding it?
Yeah, I really like it. Probably one of my favourite tracks. And yeah, it's really good. I find it fun for racing too.
The first couple of corners here are flat out, and when it comes to those qualifying heats, you're going to be leading a big group of drivers behind you. Are you excited for that, or are the nerves going to start kicking in?
No, not really. I just qualifying heats, just try to stay in the top 5 every heat and just keep getting points, and then we will do our best in the final.
Excellent. Well, congratulations, well done, and we'll see you out there in those qualifying heats.
Thank you.
Well, great to chat there too, James Ennington-Oceanis, starting this one on the front, and those qualifying heats certainly did fall into some plagued issues yesterday. 2 P6s and a second place for Ennington-Oceanis starting on that front row of the grid. Scott Marsh there on your screen for the Tony Kart Racing team. Great to see Marsh right up there at the sharp end. That was his best qualifying for quite some time as well. When we spoke to him, you'll catch that interview later on in the day. But when we spoke to him, yeah, he was saying things like, yeah, you know, I've not been on the sharp end of a qualifying grid in a really long time. And you know what? It's nice to see the Tony Kart colours back right up there at the sharp end, running around with the Kart Republic chassis. There, though, Christian Kostoya on the Paralin chassis out there. An interesting day yesterday for him. Really, really strong start for Christian Kostoya. 2 qualifying heat wins out of 2. But a DNF yesterday in his third heat. He would finish P27. But certainly so. We'll see what he can do in this one. There you can see quite a lengthy cleanup operation just happening. So we've got a bit of time before the race heads out on circuit. So we're going to take a short ad break. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be back with qualifying Heat B versus D in a few moments' time.
MVA is a multi-award-winning online school for pupils aged 10 to 18. We offer a flexible, personalised schedule, allowing students to learn on their own terms from anywhere in the world. A dynamic weekly timetable includes assemblies, e-learning, live lessons, one-to-one mentoring, and after-school clubs. Our high-performance club is specifically designed to support elite athletes. Specially trained mentors give weekly one-to-one sessions and report on academic progress and well-being. With over 300 pupils from 30 countries worldwide, MVA has redefined what's possible with 21st century learning, making it the perfect solution for balancing training and competition schedules with a world-class education.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Champions of the Future. Round 5, the last round of the championship before we crown some champions in 2024. But as you can see, we are just in the midst of a cleanup operation after the last qualifying heat that was out on circuit. The next one that is due to head out is Groups B versus D. And there on your screen is Karel Fairhand from Indonesia, the driver on the Paralin chassis in the 100. Interesting results yesterday, not being outside the top 10, but 2 P10 finishes and a 7th. Certainly some fantastic results. There's a look so far at this season's winners in 2024. Round 1 in Valencia saw Rocco Coronel. Your popular in Val d'Argenton, France, saw him take the win out of nowhere. That was a really surprising win for Joel Pokela. Certainly well-deserved for him. Slovakia Ring saw Christian Kostoya, very deserving win. And then the second half of the championship, Dries van Langendonk in Christianstad put himself in a really strong spot. But here right now, we have no idea who could take the win. As you can imagine, the rain continues to fall. And the conditions are, well, bleak to say the best word, through lack of a better word. It's not that great out there at all. But like we were saying, the drivers and mechanics there on the pre-grid are nice and dry. They're all fine until it comes to standing out on the circuit, and then they have to deal with the rain out there. But for the meanwhile, at least they're all fine. Starting on the front row, of course, for this one, Anagnostianis and Scott Marsh. We've spoken about them already in length already this morning. But again, they have delivered over the course of their races yesterday, but both of them are yet to win a qualifying heat. The two drivers behind them, though, have won a qualifying heat, as well as Iskander Sulfakari, who starts as one P8. The karts make their way out on the circuit. Let's take you through the full starting lineup. It's James Anagnostianis from Scott Marsh, Christian Kostoy and Archie Lovett on row number 2. Kenneth Firhan and Vladimir Vanikov round out row number 3. They'll have Bosco Arias and Iskander Sulfakari on row 4. Kenzo Craigie and Devon Waltz on row 5. They'll have Kasper Reipold and Klara Kowalczyk on row 6. George Edgar and Toby Gale go from row number 7. Archie Owen and Turner Brown on row number 8. They see Sebastian Mins and William Kalija on row 9. Jakub Tatroja and Yuri Levar round out the top 20 on row 10. Marco Garst and Benjamin Magnac round out row 11. They'll have Kanish Rao and Christian Blandino on row 12. Remy Samchek and Evan Purcell go from row 13. Matteo Rivals and Louis Cochet on row 14. They'll have Gustavo da Silva and Oskin Parai on row 15. Theo Policar and Zachara Dole on row 16. They'll have Marco Manson on row 17. The driver from New Zealand rounds out the 33 kart field. Like we've said in the first two races, all those drivers are on wet tyres out there. There is no sign of it getting any better throughout this day. It looks like we're up at 10,000 feet in the sky and we're in the clouds. But no, we're not. The clouds have descended here in the Lincolnshire countryside, and effectively, yes, we're racing in them. But certainly for the drivers, it's going to bring a new challenge of misting visors. Of course, the water that accumulates on that one. Gone are the days where we had the visor, the windmill on the visor. That was a fabulous piece of karting technology that I wish still remained, but no, unfortunately drivers stopped using those quite some time ago. Right, drivers making their way down the back straight, 200-meter back straight from the Litchfield Bridge on to hairpin number 1. And again, a tense moment now for the field, because again, for Anagnostianis and Scott Marsh, this is a really good opportunity for them to come away now with their first qualifying heat win, because like you say, they've been struggling a little bit, but with Kostoya and Lovett behind, both on a qualifying heat win over the course of the weekend, they're in a really strong spot. There's a look at the qualifying heats. The intermediate classifications, Rocco Coronel at the moment leads that. Of course, we've seen him battling away already. Martinez, Filippo Sala, currently third from Archie Lovett, Marsh and Kraling. Lovett and Marsh in this race. You can see them part of Group D. And again, they are very close in the points there. Only 1 point between them. So it does show that the racing here will be very close all the way to the end. Of course, these racers are battling to get into the superheats. Of course, championship points up for grabs over the course of the weekend, that you get them at the end of the qualifying heats, the superheats, and the final phase. And in the junior category at the moment, it is Dries van Langendonk who leads it from Nicolas Schaufler, Christian Costoya, Rocco Coronel, and Filippo Sala, the top 5. Into the tram lines, lights are green, we are racing down in towards turn number 1. It's a great start for Anagnostianis, but it gets a little bit tasty in the midfield. There is a full 360 as well for the Forza Racing. I think that was Devon Waltz in the number 40, and there's just pandemonium on the banking. Drivers going everywhere. Everyone is okay, but that is just a testament to how slippery it is out there. There's more karts rotating. Oh, this is not the start we wanted to see at all in junior qualifying Heat B versus D, and it just shows how difficult the conditions are. There, it's the 96 that's gone round. It looked like it was Iskander Sulfakari, the other driver. That's William Kalija from Australia, the Parallel Motorsport driver, going no further, and that's a big shame for him. But at the front here, James Anagnostianis is holding on to the lead of this one quite nicely right now. Scott Marsh still in second place, pushing himself along as there's been another spin. One of the victory lanes is off at hairpin at number 2. And I'm just trying to think who that could be as my timing screen does update. but certainly a handful of drivers in this one have tumbled down the order, and we'll update who they are. Can confirm it's Teo Polican is the driver who has gone off at hairpin number 2. So big shames there. Across the line then. Anagnosiadis, Marsh, Kostoya. Get a fair hand from Reipold. Love it from Arias. Waltz from Owen. Ivanikov from Mins. Craigie, Cochet, Kowalczyk, the top 14 as they head through onto lap number 2 now. The rain's definitely picking up here. The rain's getting worse. Certainly making it very challenging for the drivers. Big use over the curb there for Reipold and the Koski Motorsport machine. Just trying to utilize it as much as he can. Again, every sort of lap he takes around here, he's learning the circuit, really pushing himself along on this one. But you got a feel for everyone who's out there in these conditions. Of course, the drivers, mechanics, marshals, the camera crew as well, who are having to deal with these very treacherous conditions out there. But certainly not the nicest weather for racing compared to yesterday. And there's a look at the rain radar, and again, there's no actual rain. Everything you're seeing right now is just a really thick mist that's over the circuit. Unfortunately, it's meaning that the track is not drying up at all, and every little bit that mist comes down just soaks everything. So there's no actually physical raindrops out there. It's all very misty and horrible. It's probably the worst racing conditions you could imagine for a driver, because you can see here how difficult it is to see them coming out of that final corner before they head down in towards turn number 1 as, oh, love it, trying to send it down the inside of the Bruno Ferrari S's. In dry conditions, it's risky enough. In wet conditions, that's unheard of. And for him, he has to concede the spot. He stays there in P5 as Kenny Fairhand holds on to P4 right now. The top 3 still breaking away, no drama for themselves. And Anagnosiadis is looking very, very strong here for a qualifying heat win. There, though, Lovett and Reipold very close to each other. Casper Reipold now on that rear bumper. This is the battle behind, though. Bosco Arias now getting past. Sebastian Mins has gone through. Sebastian Mins is up 10 places in this race. We'll talk about that a little bit more. The same as Louis Cochet, the driver for the Victory Lane team. 17 places in this race for the Frenchman. So he's really pushed through in this one. That'll be a nice result for him, as Sebastian Mins is trying to go for another one here on Reipold. Reipold's going to try and defend it, but like you say, takes that different racing line. Block pass from Mins, sends it down the inside. It's obviously slow on the power, can't get the power down, so the car kind of almost looks like it grinds to a halt there on the exit of the Mike Wilson complex, but gets that move done. And that's not in a good spot. That is the number 47, I will say, of Marco Gast. And Marco, of course, involved in that incident yesterday at turn number 1 that we saw in the highlights. Right now has left his car stricken in the middle of the circuit there. That is around the Mike Wilson complex at the end of the lap. So yellow flags will be out in that sector as James Anagnosiadis, well, this is a stark difference from what we saw yesterday. The dry conditions, outright pace was excellent because he was pole in his group. He was second fastest driver overall in the junior category. And right here, right now in the wet conditions, well, the wet setup seems to be on point as well, because the qualifying heats didn't go his way yesterday. Like we were saying, 2 6th places and a second. Certainly put him on the back foot here. But right now in the wet conditions, the Australian is dealing with them very, very well here. Back over the start-finish straight they go. Marsh still there in second place. Kostoya in third. No drama between themselves at all. They are just breaking away now from the rest of the field. But the drivers behind still looking pretty close. Kostoya and Kia Fairhand, they're in a position of calmness as well, as they're not really battling with each other either. The top 4 pretty spread out right now. Sebastian Mins leads a trio, though. It's Mins from Craigie and Lovett, the Ricky Flynn, the Prema, and the Forza Racing driver. Up 12, 3, and down 3 for Lovett. Lovett has not had the best start of his race. They're still battling away just further behind. And then you've got another group as well just behind. You've got the likes of Bosco Arias, Devon Waltz, and Casper Reipold battling just inside the top 10. So again, the field at the front here, nice and calm and collected. You can hear there the grinding on the circuit. Here's what happened to Arch. You love it. Down the inside, nice little overtake there on Sebastian Mins, running a little bit wide on the exits, and yeah, through back goes Sebastian Mins. That's just that classic straight down the inside, switch over move, back down the inside, force you to go for the move down the inside effectively, make you go down there, and then you can get it back on the exit. So again, it's a great defensive driving technique that you're seeing there. And in these wet conditions, it's even easier to do that. Now, I am seeing a technical flag going out on my screen, and that's going to the driver of the 112. Oh, that is Louis Cochet in the 112. Cochet, who was up nearly 20 places in this race, has picked up a technical flag. And unfortunately, he's adhered to that, and he's back in Parc Ferme. He has not crossed the start-finish line, and he is out of this race. And that is a huge shame, because he had really pushed up the order in this race. Here a little further back, this is Kenzo Craigie and Kyria Fairhand battling away. Craigie now up 4 places, is into P5. Kyria Fairhand trying to retaliate here. The driver from Indonesia trying to push himself forward here in the 100, but right now struggling with the conditions. Sebastian Mins, here he is. This is in the Mike Wilson complex. Again, see it, turning it in, straight down the inside, gets that move done. That was earlier on in the race on lap number 5. And that's how he got through, and Craigie again a little bit later on, certainly pushing through as well. Kyria Fairhand then on the back foot right now as we keep an eye on this lead battle. Do I dare say that Scott Marsh is closing in? Looking at the sector times here, I'm going to say yes, despite that Marsh was a lot slower over the speed trap there, under 100 kilometers an hour. Anagnosiadis well over 100 kilometers an hour. So again, the speed difference there very drastically different. But I think the signal has been given to Anagnosiadis here, saying that, well, Marsh is closing in. You need to kind of break away a little bit now, so see what you can do. And he does do that now, goes purple in Sector 1, but that gets taken away, though. Sebastian Mins reclaims that purple Sector 1. And Marsh will continue to try and close in here, but, well, half a second slower was Marsh through Sector 1 alone on that lap. But Sector 2, however, he's a 10th faster, so it shows then that the pace of the Tony Kart is in the middle sector. It's in the straight lines, it's in the hairpins, but that fast sweeping sector through the Bruno Ferrari S's, up the banking, over the bridge and down the hill, not in favour for Marsh, but as you can see from the intermediate classifications, Marsh would lead the way at this point of the weekend with 167 points from Anagnosiadis. So we'll keep a close eye on all of that throughout the proceedings. Lovett's gone up to 3rd in the IC. So is Craigie, Costora and Zulfikari. They've all moved up, but again, that's because Coronel and Martinez and Sala, they won't be on an extra heat right now. This will be their 4th qualifying heat for groups B and D. So that is why we are seeing these points so drastically different. But there you can see how spread the field is right now. They are just not enjoying these conditions. And but like I say, the track's got to a point now where the tyres should be working a little bit better now. It's actually really wet line out there on circuit. So you're actually starting to see a little bit of standing water out there as well. So these wets should come into their own right now. This is Costoya, Mins and Craigie. Mins is closing in on Costoya here. This is a battle for 3rd place. And Mins kind of showing the skill that he's got around this circuit, straight down the inside. Makes the move on the Spaniard. And he heads up now into P3 as we're on to the final lap now of this race. Costoya is going to try and retaliate, though. Not going to do it into the Bruno Ferrari S's there, Costoya. You're going to have to stay behind. Look at the speed difference there. That was the difference purely through the racing line. Costoya not on the optimal one there at all. And you saw the closing distance there for Kenzo Craigie. Unfortunately, had to hit the anchors. There was no way past. The only way he was going to go there was straight into the back of the Paralin card. He's going to go for it here, though, in towards hairpin number 1. Straight down the inside. Again, just holding it there, waiting for the car to grip up on the outside. Holds onto it nicely. Costoy is going to take the wet racing line. It's going to go right to the outside, try and get on the power nice and early, but it's not worked out for him at all there. The normal racing line usually plays dividends through hairpin number 2, but this time around, you can see that gap has opened up tremendously. James Ananosiadis, though, for the Prema Racing team, he's going to make his way into the final couple of corners now, and he will take his first win of the weekend. Checkered flag for the Australian here in the United Kingdom. He will see his first win of the weekend in his 4th qualifying heat of the day. Well, Scott Marsh will finish in P2, still matches his best result, but still is waiting to see that checker flag first. Sebastian Mins finishes in P3. A superb drive for Sebastian Mins. He started 17th place in that race, and he finishes in 3rd. 14 places gained for Sebastian Mins. Kenzo Craigie finishing in P4, then up 5 places ahead of Costoya. Get a fair hand from Archie Lovett, rounding out the top 7. Devon Waltz finishing in P8 from George Edgar. Bosco Arias rounded out the top 10. There's a look at the full classifications there. Archie Owen finishing in 11th place from Vladimir Vanikov. Karol Kowalczyk from Remy Samchek. Iskander Sulfakari, I believe, was the driver who had that full rotation at the start of the race. Finishes that race in P15 ahead of Kanishka Rao. Gustavo da Silva from Benjamin Magnac. Turner Brown from Christian Blandino. Yuri Lavar from Marco Manson. Zachara Dole from Jaguar Tetroja. And Oscar Parai, who rounds out the 25 finishers in that race. Once again, 33 cuts starting it, only 25 finishing it. So many retirements over the course of the day. And for so many drivers here, this is going to make it a little bit interesting when it comes to drivers getting into the super heats later on, because, of course, the group gets whittled down to just the 72 for the 2 super heats. Then it gets whittled down again to just the 36 for the finals tomorrow. So again, so many drivers are on the back foot right now. But for this young man here, James Ananosiadis, he can, well, celebrate there with his first qualifying heat win of the weekend after putting it on pole in his group. And certainly a very strong performance from him. Flag-to-flag finish for the Australian. Marsh as well, finishing in P2. Let's have a look at the highlights from that one. In the grand scheme of things, there weren't many. The start of this one, very interesting. Keep an eye right in the middle there. You can see Iskander Sulfakari, full 360 there. Incredible kart control, and holds on to that one. The start on this one, drivers running off the track here. This is just not what you want to see at all. So many different racing lines. Going into the unknown. Of course, the banking there, it's very, very tricky to get a dry racing line in because there's rubber all over it because there's so many different racing lines you can take through the circuit. There, William Kalesia as well at the start of that one. Certainly not the start he would have wanted. He tried to get it restarted, but you do only get the one attempt, and unfortunately for him, he would retire from the race. He was the first of many. Tia Policar, Evan Purcell, 2 other retirements. Toby Gale in the CRG would be another retirement in the early stages, as well as Mateo Rivas, Marco Gast, Louis Cochet, and Casper Reipold at the end of that one. We didn't see what happened to the Koski driver, who was battling right up the sharp end in the early stages. There is Reipold on your screen in the number 34. So he was right up there in the packs of the front runners. There, though, was the first move from Sebastian Mins that put him a little bit backwards. That would bring in the likes of Kenzo Craigie as well. Craigie would get the move down the inside on the start-finish line, and you can see there the speed difference there alone as the DPK of Bosco Arias would go through as well. Arias would drop back, though, later on in the race. The DPK driver from Spain finishing inside the top 10, but rounding out the top 10 in the number 31, down a few positions. Mins making the moves later on as well, getting past Kero Fairhand for the Paralin team. Fairhand in the 100 finishing in P6, only down 1 spot from his original starting spot out there. Craigie getting through as well later. Costoya also would be on the back foot. Would recover, though, would finish back in P5. But after starting on the second row of the grid, a P5 is still not the end of the world, especially after the DNF yesterday. The only thing that Costoya can say that he has is, well, he's got 2 qualifying heat wins at the moment here. So, again, he's still in a really strong spot there, as Craigie making his last ditch attempt on Costoya, getting it done, and that put him up into P4. But James Enossianis across the line, he would take his first qualifying heat win of the weekend. Really strong performance from the Australian. We look forward to seeing what he can do later on today. But the seniors are coming up next. They are back out on track. And it is qualifying heats B versus D coming up next for the seniors. This is the 4th race of the day that it's heading out. And now we get to see if Joe Turney, who had done very well in time qualifying, who'd done very well in the qualifying heat, let's see if he can do a better job here in the wet conditions. You can see there his wetsuit's on. He's primed up, ready to go in this one as he gets ready to go out. But let's catch up with him as he went out after qualifying yesterday.
Well, senior qualifying Group 2 for the Champions of the Future Round 5 here at PF International. Joe Turney, fastest in group, but not fastest overall by fractions of a second. But it is your teammate that's on top still. How's it feeling? Kart Republic certainly seem to have a good setup here.
Yeah, we look good. We did plenty of testing before this race, so no, we look good as a team. A lot of us in the front, a lot of different teams, satellite teams, factory team, whatever. So no, we all look pretty good.
Yeah, you've raced in America, you've raced all around Europe. How does it feel to be finally back here in the UK here at PF?
Yeah, it's nice. I haven't raced here for about 6 years now, so yeah, it's definitely nice to be home, nice to not have to fly to a race, just an hour and a half up the road. So yeah, it's pretty nice. I'm not sure everyone's enjoying it. I know a lot of the Italians aren't, but yeah, no, it's nice to be here.
Excellent. At least the sun's shining for you as well in qualifying. What can we hope to see in the qualifying heats as well? Because, of course, a packed grid of drivers you're going to have, and the Bruno Ferrari S is into turn 1. Well, they're quite a first corner, aren't they?
Yeah, it's tight. It's definitely tight under there, so let's hope we can get through it. Definitely helps being at the front, on the front row. So we'll see how the heats develop, but try and get through the first lap and then see what we can do.
Well, congratulations. Well done. We'll see you out there in those races.
Cheers.
Well, Joe Turney there, a brilliant start to his weekend. Fastest in group for him, and taking 3 qualifying heat wins out of 3 so far this weekend. But that was all yesterday in dry conditions. Today in wet conditions is a different story. As the engines fire up, the drivers make their way out onto the circuit. Let's take you through the full starting lineup. Joe Turney, who's had 3 wins out of 3, starts this on pole position. We'll have Salim Hanar, who won his first race yesterday, driver from Colombia, starting on the front row of the grid. Loveway Sambudla from South Africa and Lewis Francis from Australia round out row number 2. Then you'll have Elliot Kaczynski and Dmitry Matviev rounding out row number 3. Sebastian Korpeng and Lewis Werrell rounds out the top 8 on row number 4. You'll have Alpak Sorin Kai Rillards rounding up top 10 on row 5. Andy Kutsani and Hugo Marti on row 6. They'll have Matthias Morgato and Marulida Roca on row 7. Timo Jungling and Yuri Peschel go from row 8. They'll have Hu Tian-Dang and Mark Domnitsky on row 9. Suleiman Zamfari and Pedro Hilbrand go from row 10. They'll have Harry Hannum and Blake Nash on row 11. Michael Adair and Gerardo Peralta on row 12. They'll have Ludovico Busso and Daniel Ginchard on row 13. Hugo Besson and Ty Maria on row 14. They'll have Rylan Eschberg rounding out the 29 kart field, the 15th row of the grid. Well, already we're seeing drama in these wet conditions. Now, that, I think, at hairpin number 2 is Lewis Francis, the Australian, who is due to start this race on the 2nd row of the grid. He's got 1 chance to get this restarted. I can see it out the commentary box window, not on your screens, but I can confirm that he has got going again, and he is back in this race. However, he is a long way back from the drivers up ahead. In fact, it may be beneficial for him to maybe hang back and wait for them to come back round, but there is no way he is going to get back up in time to his original starting spot of P4. So he is effectively out of the running for this race in the time being, as the field right now try to scramble to get any temperature in these tyres. Like we were saying, recap a little bit of yesterday for both these groups. Joe Turner, we've said it a million times, already. 3 wins out of 3 yesterday, and there you can see the season winners so far. Joe Turney's only won 1 of them, and he won that at the Slovakia ring. Valencia saw Finn McLaughlin at the front. Thibaut Ramekers at Val d'Argenton, then Finn again in round 4. But where it gets interesting is when you look at the championship standings, because it's Thibaut Ramekers who leads that, because yes, okay, Ramekers has only won 1 final, but his consistency over the season has put him up at the sharp end of it. However, we've not seen much of Thibaut Ramekers this weekend. His qualifying didn't go his way, and his results as well certainly have affected that one. A DNF in his first race, and it's certainly put him on the back foot. Turney, however, second in the championship, is right where he wants to be. But Gabriel Gomez, third in the championship, not here this weekend. He's got other duties around in his Formula racing career. But the lights go green. We are racing here in the senior categories, B versus D. The spray is immense for the drivers as they all try to hold on to the track through turn number 1. As they make their way up the banking now for the first time, a multitude of different racing lines through the banking, but into the literal bridge for the first time. You can see again, so many drivers just trying to hang it round the outside there. You've got Eichmann's trying to dive it down the inside. You can see him with a bright yellow helmet right in the background there, trying to push his way through. But everyone right now is holding on to this one. Joe Turney, though, is leading this way and is breaking away right now massively. You can see that the slippery surface of flags are out. That is very well noted. We can imagine that it is very slippery out there as off the track goes the 218, and going no further, Matthias Morgato is out of this race unless he can get it restarted. There's Blake Nash as well. He's off the track. Morgato's got going again. That's good for him. But we've got to keep it careful here. You've got karts trying to restart while there's karts coming around. We've seen drama like that last year, of course. Francesco, to cast your mind back. We don't want to repeat to that, of course, this season. But right now, everyone just holding on to it. Some drivers retiring. Looks like Blake Nash hasn't got going. There's more dramas as well. There's a fusion kart off the track also and tumbling down the order. So there's quite a few drivers out this race, and there's a sea of yellow flag as well, straight off the circuit there again. Goes the Forza. Now, very interesting running here. Mark Domnitsky, Rillart's all trying to gain through. So the drivers who have tumbled down the order, Alpak Soy, I believe, is the fusion driver. Anna Consani, Blake Nash, Gerardo Peralta, and Rylan Eschberg, all tumbling down the order at the moment in this one. So again, a real shake-up in the field as promoted drivers well up in the order. And one of them is Daniel Ginchard, the SFR Motorsport driver in the 359, who I did speak to this morning, did not have a good qualifying to start the weekend well. But over the course of the weekend, he's had to push through these qualifying heats. And right now, he did say, I hope it stays wet out there, because I went out in morning warm-up and I was rapid on these wet tyres. So, for Daniel Ginchard, he is certainly staying true to his word as he is pushing up the order nicely. Over the start-finish line, there is Joe Turney. Absolutely no drama for him whatsoever. He's got a gap at 3.5 seconds from the rest of the field. And Dimitri Matveev, in fact, actually tell a lie, that goes up even more now as chopping and changing there. Whoa, that's as close as you like to get. Timo Jungling trying to push himself through. Now, Timo Jungling, a lot of experience around here. He has certainly pushed himself throughout the course of his young career. He races now in the KZ2 category. We saw him out in Val Vibretta last time out. We see him now here in the United Kingdom, and he is a well-known driver here in his cadet years. I remember commentating on him when he was in his cadet racing years, and now racing in the senior OK category here in the Champions of the Future. Certainly a massive step up for the category. You can see here that the fog now is descending on the circuit. Mist and fog, wet track. Oh, this is certainly a very tough day for our field of drivers here. Certainly not what I want to see at all. But right now, still Turney leads the way. But Viev in second place, but is down 5.8 seconds. That is pure knowledge of a circuit here. Timo Jungling, though, who's on a brilliant race in this one, 11 places gained, is now trying to close in on Salim Hanar. You can't even see the drivers coming out of turn number 15. The outer pits bend You can barely see them. That might be an accumulation of water on the lens of the camera, but I can say that the fog is descending on the circuit, because even out the commentary box position, I can see that the mist is falling down. It's just a horrible, horrible day for racing, but our drivers are persevering. Real Arts, though, needs to be careful. He's picking up a warning flag in this race. He doesn't want any more of those. He might find himself in a big spot of bother. But we'll keep an eye on this one here, because the Sodi kart driver of Timo Jungling certainly showing his circuit knowledge here, closing in on the front runners, and Salimanar is the next target. Salimanar, though, who was the fastest driver in time qualifying in the Group 4, certainly delivered over the course of time qualifying, got on a really strong lap in, but has not really put in the performance in this one. Did take qualifying heat in the first, but a third and a ninth in the next one. Company's in third right now, so it's not been too much for drama. There's your race leader, Joe Turney. Started first, is currently first, and what is his gap? It's 7.4 seconds. Joe Turney could be in a position here to lap nearly, well, quite a few drivers right now. We have seen a big chunk of retirements. The latest of them, though, is Pedro Hilbrand, the multiple champion for Spain, is out of this race. Currently sits in 23rd. He's in a real danger now of not making it into the superheats, because those results have just not gone his way. He didn't have a great qualifying, and, well, like I say, the conditions here this weekend have not played into his favour at all. They are going to play into the favours here, though, of Timo Jungling. Down the inside into hairpin number 1, but watch out for Silimanar. He's got the switch back here. He said, well, Jungling says think, don't go for it. You know, I've caught up. I've gained so many positions, you know. I know my way around here, so maybe you follow me and we try and close up to the likes of Dmitry Matviev further up the road. Let's see if Salim Hanar will adhere to that advice, or whether or not he will stick to his own racing line for the time being. Now, Elliot Kaczynski. We've not said much about him for Elliot Kaczynski in this one. His results have been pretty consistent. 8th places all the way throughout on this one. You can see him just behind these two. He's in P5. He's all on his own a little bit, is Elliot Kaczynski on that Tony kart, or the Ward Racing kart, I should say, on the Tony kart chassis, pushing himself through. But yeah, not really in a fight right now. He's just happily driving his way round as, again, the mist still descending on the circuit here as Turney sets the fastest lap of the race. To put it into context, Joe Turney has just put in a 1:16.1. The next fastest driver out there is Dmitry Matviev, a 1:16.9. That 0.8 of a second faster a lap is Joe Turney in these conditions, and that gap is nearly reaching 10 seconds. There on your screen is Salim Hanar battling away. We cut back to Timo Jungling now, who, a little twitchy there going into the Fullerton S's, showing that he's pushing that all the way to the end. And that was quite a hefty knock on that curb, and that just showed me that that front nose cone there on his wagon is a little bit wavy, and I think it may have dropped on Jungling. Now, he can be forgiven for that. He has gained 12 places in this race. He's had to pass a lot of drivers, so I can see there, as every time he hits a curb, you can see the nose cone bouncing and bobbing up and down. So I suspect, well, there could be a post-race time penalty heading for Timo Jungling, with a nose cone penalty being applied. But again, I can only see what I can see, as there's been a spin at under the bridge here. And off camera, I could spot it out the commentary box window. One driver is tumbling down the order. Someone relatively high up in the order as well. But I'm trying to see who is not clocking up anymore out on circuit. We're still all good for the top 6. Werrell gets through. I think it might be Loveaway Sam Budler, the Kart Republic Motorsport driver, is out. And he is out of this race under the bridge at turn 1. So that is a big shame for the South African. He will go no further in this one. And he walks away from the car and he makes his way to the marshal post. And that is off camera. Of course, you can't see that on the screens at home. But I can see it from my commentary box window. You're watching here Joe Turney in what can only be described as a masterclass of a drive. The gap was 8.9 seconds. Matveev, when he crosses the line, will go through. Is this the replay of the spin? It is. There you can see it just in the foreground under the bridge. Liverway Sam Budler. And again, very lucky to get that where it was parked. Puts himself in a safe position, but completely out of sight from the drivers coming through turn number 1. So very, very dramatic one for the drivers out there. Joe Turney at the moment, there you can see him leading the way. Matveev, 9.3 seconds further down the road. There he comes in towards hairpin number 1 right now. And there is Timo, well actually no, there is not Timo Jungling. Where has Timo Jungling gone? He has disappeared from view. Is that Jungling there? He's tumbled down the order and he's going further and further down. And I'm trying to see what's happened to him. The 3:47 is on the start-finish line. He's right underneath the commentary box. Something disastrous has happened to the man who was battling up in 3rd place and had shot through the field. Timo Jungling will go no further. Joe Turney leads. Matveev still there in 2nd place. Hanar in 3rd now. Werrell in P4. Kaczynski in P5. Rillarts from Adair. Michael Adair has gained 16 places, ladies and gentlemen. The CRG Racing driver has had a superb drive in this one. The same as Daniel Ginchard behind in P8. 19 positions gained for Daniel Ginchard because he's just got past Domnitsky and Michael Adair, and he's up into P7 now. So again, this is a superb drive for the young Briton as we follow here Matveev in 2nd place. Again, pushing himself through. You can see the train there that's starting to form. The field is so spread out. There's a multitude of different racing lines coming in. These drivers are really, really struggling here with the wet racing conditions in the United Kingdom at PFI. This is a challenging circuit to say the least, and for so many drivers here, it's going to be a really long day for them if they have results like this. You know, they need to figure this out. They need to get to the bottom of why these gaps are opening up. Why are they seeing these gaps opening up in the middle of the races? Because, you know, the pace is all there. We've seen these Cut Republics work so well yesterday, and we are seeing that with Joe Turney. You know, he's broken away, 10.8 seconds clear, 11 seconds clear now from Matveev in 2nd place as he sets another fastest lap of the race, 1:15.6. Absolutely superb pace out there, and again is now nearly a second faster a lap than Dmitry Matveev out there. Matveev's fastest lap is a 1:16.7, so in fact he is a full second faster is Joe Turney a lap in this race. You can't buy that pace. That pace is pure knowledge of this circuit. But speaking to him, you know, he's not been here for 6 years. He's had a large break away from racing at PFI. I mean, it is his local circuit. He lives only about an hour up the road, does Joe Turney. But he's been racing over in Europe, of course. He's been racing over in America. Multiple champions all the way throughout. So again, really showing great performance for Joe Turney there in the 2:03. Dan Ginchard as well, also is a multiple champion and knows this circuit very well. Dan Ginchard, a double junior champion in Miami and Rotax in his previous years, racing in the British Kart Championship. So again, he is a well-known driver in these parts and has really pushed himself through this field right now. Like saying, up into P7 right now, 19 places gained. But eyes on Joe Turney. Well, let's watch him for a lap on this one, because again, you can see just the pure pace from him out in this one. He has delivered over the course of this day. We were concerned that, yes, the pace was good in the dry. Could he deliver it in the wet conditions as well? Well, I would say he's not only delivered, he's demolished in this one because 13 seconds, over 13 seconds from Dmitry Matveev in 2nd place. It is unheard of. I don't think we've seen a gap that big over the course of this season at all in any racetrack. And for Joe Turney, he's going to make it 4 out of 4 qualifying heat wins. He'll extend his championship lead, his intermediate classification lead now to nearly 40 points between himself and Lewis Werrell, who steps up 2nd in the IC. Joe Turney then for Kart Republic. The Italian team with the British driver dominates here, making it 4 out of 4 qualifying heat wins across the line. And wait for it. Absolutely wait for it. There he is. There's Dmitry Matviev in second place. An immense gap between the two of them. Dmitry Matviev now only crosses the line. This is the battle for third place. Salim Hanar and Lewis Werrell close between those two at the end. Then the next battle, Rillarts and Ginchard. Ginchard finishes in P6. It was right on that rear bumper of Kai Rillarts in P5. I thought he was going to gain 21 places in that one, but he gained 20. Nevertheless, to finish in P6. Kaczynski finishes in 7th place from Mark Dubnitsky. Michael Adair from Peschel rounding out the top 10. Morgato, despite that spin in the early stages, recovers back to P11. And the rest of the field as well. Hugo Besson, Hugo Marti, Harry Hannum, Sebastian Corpeng, Ludovico Busso, Marilla de Rocca, Luis Francis and Hutien Deng round out the 19 finishers, and Tai Mia finishing in 20th place. 29 karts started, only 20 finish. Again, it's going to be a mighty cleanup operation for the track staff out there. They have done a brilliant job so far, but their hard work, unfortunately, in these wet, rainy conditions will have to continue ever further on. There, Joe Turney taking the win then. His 4th win of the weekend ahead of Dmitry Matviev. Salim Hanar from Lewis Werrell. Rillarts from Ginchard round out the top 6. Ginchard, biggest mover, 20 places gained. Elliot Kaczynski from Mike Dubnitsky. Dubnitsky, 10 places gained. Michael Adair, 14 places gained. So a really strong performance there from some of the drivers. But for many more, with the retirements, not the results they would have wanted. Timo Jungling, Loveway Budler, Pedro Hiltbrand, a retirement. Suleiman Zamfari, Alpak Soy, Andy Kansani, Blake Nash, Gerardo Peralta, and Rylan Eschberg, all retirements in that race. But there, in Parc Ferme, Joe Turney, well, he can hide under cover now as he dries off now before we see him out for his next race. Here's highlights of it. Start a little bit shaky for the field. Some drivers there you can see from Matviev, Werrell, Kai Rillarts taking to that exit curb through turn number 1 in the Bruno Ferrari S is there off the track from the word go. Big spin there for Matthias Morgato. Amazing to the fact that he recovered back to P11. There you can see as well Blake Nash, who didn't get restarted. He was unfortunately out, and as well as Alpak Soy further round the corner. There he was, also out of the race. Timo Jungling, not sure what happened to him in this race. Really strong start for him. Pushed his way through the order. He gained loads of places. He did suffer a nose cone from what I could see out on track after making his way through the field. It's very easily done in the wet conditions here. But later, more drama would strike for him. He was out on the start-finish line. There, you could see just under the bridge was the spin for Loveway Budler in the early stages of that race. He was unfortunately going to retire after qualifying very well at the beginning. But Joe Turney takes his 4th win out of 4 and now leads with 200 intermediate classification points. Well, we are going to take a short break. As you can imagine, there's a lengthy clean-up operation underway out on the circuit to collect the carts. So we'll be back in a few moments' time. Don't go anywhere with OK Junior qualifying E versus F coming up next.
Racing Spirit was born out of the need to create a clothing line that could embody the passion and the experience that OMP gathered and cultivated working alongside the most successful racing teams of the last 50 years. Racing Spirit garments are made by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. They can be worn every day in leisure time, but especially on race venues. From the paddock of the hottest Formula One races to the service parks of winter rallies in all weather conditions. Racing Spirit offers a complete range of clothing and accessories for men and women, designed and developed in Italy, combining aesthetics, comfort, and functionality. Because of these features, it is the brand of choice of several prestigious motorsport outfits and organizations. Racing Spirit is the meeting point between high quality and Italian style, as well as the introduction of sustainable materials and innovation, such as the use of graphene. Racing Spirit offering comes with 4 options: cutting-edge designs and customization techniques. Lifestyle is a line of garments ideal for everyday and leisure wear. with refined style and innovative materials. Crew are custom garments of the highest quality that strengthen the visual identity of the team or organization. For instance, the choice of Skoda Motorsport and Dallara. Corporate is a full custom-designed clothing line for sizable organizations, such as Toyota Racing Development. Finally, the Teamwear line for maximum creative freedom uses sublimation printing technology derived from OMP's racing experience. Similarly to the other Racing Force Group brands, Racing Spirit shares the same DNA of competing to be the first and ultimately become the reference in the market.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just joining us, we are midway through the morning half of the day. Qualifying Heat E versus F will be coming out next for the OK Junior category. 9 laps, 12.5 kilometre race distance. And that'll be starting with the Canadian Illy Christian starting on pole position and Dean Hugendorn joining alongside. There is the Canadian Illy Christian, who yesterday has had a troublesome day, I would say. A P7, a P4, P16 as well for the young driver. But certainly today, in these wet conditions, maybe we could see some good results from him. As there you can see again, the rain still falling and everyone ducking into cover. There you can see that is actually under the grey umbrella. That is Sky Parker's dad, Sky Parker, who will be racing in this one. The number 54, starting in P16. There is Dean Hugendorn on your screen, driver from the Netherlands. Has had a good day yesterday, a win and a second place. So I do expect good things from the man starting on the front row of the grid. See if we can get that Fusion machine to a good result at the end of this one. They're the last of the carts just getting recovered back into Parc Fermé. Again, a big heads up for the marshals out there. Brilliant job they're doing in trying to get these turnovers as quickly and as most efficiently as possible. But of course, the trailer only being able to support 4 carts. And so far over the course of this weekend, we have seen many retirements over the races versus what we see usually. There is Henry Domain. Now, Domain had, again, an up-and-down day yesterday. First race, didn't go well. DNF, P29, forget about that one. Didn't want to know about that. But his second race, a P2. That was much more like what we expect for the young Briton. Certainly a very strong performance for him. But then it came in the way of a P8. So again, it's on that fine margin. And right now, in torrential, I'm going to say, conditions out there, I mean, it's just a fine mist, but the track is just absolutely soaking out there. It's just not good for them at all. We should see good things. As well as Jacob Ashcroft starting alongside again. Another driver who had a DNF in the first, but a P5 in his second, showing that the pace is there on that NH course chassis. Yellow light is flashing. We are seconds away from seeing the green lights and the field heading out onto the circuit. Let's take you through the full starting lineup for OK Junior qualifying heat E versus F. Illy Christian starts this one on pole position. Dean Hugendorn starts alongside Henry Domain and Jacob Ashcroft around out row number 2. They'll have Ian Kraling and Kip Bolosky on row 3. Nicholas Schaufler and Aston Sharp on row 4. They'll have Daniel Kelleher and Harrison Mackie on row 5. Paul Andriotis and Luke Cornder on row 6. They'll have Boris Leisen and Oliver Rasmussen on row 7. Alex Malota and Sky Parker on row number 8. Bruno Kriek and Makar Savalev round out row number 9. They'll have Manuel Aguez and Joa Pokela on row 10. They'll have Zhao Zijun and Filippo Pancotti on row 11 with Max Endicott and Simas Bachuska on row 12. Enzo Ruggiero and Thomas Gender round out row 13. They'll have Fastao from Argentina and Theodore Tabal from Estonia on row 14. Oscar Gallin and Sun Yabi round out row 15 with Dean Pedersen and Marcel Sebu on row 16. Weather conditions not improving over the course of the day. The air temperature, though, is still 18 degrees, so that stayed the same. But it's still a very sub-optimal day out there as the field once again try and get any temperature into those tyres. But of course, as soon as they start slowing down when they head over the red line, whether in the formation part there, that's where the temperature really dies down. And already we're seeing drama here. And who is this? This is quite high up in the order, I think. I can't quite see the number. But who's not come round? Is that Theodore Tabal? I think it is. Theodore Tabal is not going to be starting this race. Now, Tabal was due to start this one a little further down the order. He was supposed to start 28th place. Now, what happened to him? Well, there he is going slowly, and I think it's just conked out of life there. And, yeah, frustration kicking in over the Litchfield Bridge, and nothing that Theodore Tabal could do. He is out of this race before it even starts. That is a heartbreaker there. Well, we'll have to see what he can do. The Estonian will be on the back foot here. Not the best qualifying. And now in these qualifying heats, another DNF. And that is going to play havoc with his chances of getting into those super heats and finals, of course, tomorrow. You stay tuned for that one. And if you are just joining us from around the world, welcome, as that is Aston Sharp off the circuit. That is disastrous on the Gillard chassis. Aston Sharp in the 174 goes no further. He cannot push it back onto the track. He is out. He was due to start this one P8. There will be a gap there. That is disastrous. It means Harrison Mackie needs to keep the gap in front of him right now, but right now that's easier said than done, with the whole field is bunched up right here into the tram lines. Are we going racing? Yes, we are. It's a great start for the inside line. Christian gets away well. Keep an eye on Domain on the inside line. Can anyone hold on to the track here? Is anyone going to spin in the mid-pack there? No, they all get through. It's a nice start, but again, now we head up to the banking. Different racing lines. You see one of the DPKs going right to the outside there. I think that might have been Sky Parker in the background there, trying to get back on the inside. You can see her now right in the mid-pack there. She's got a Tony cut, trying to go down the inside. Not gone well, and has held through. Yellow flags are out. There is a spin, I think, over the bridge, so we'll keep an eye who has not come through in this one. Out of hairpin number 1. And we saw big lunges there yesterday in the dry conditions. Today, though, a little bit more tentative to get that one done, as Ashcroft trying to push his way through the field in this one right now. But there you can see a change for the lead. It looks like Hugendorn or Henry Domain, I think it's Henry Domain in the 84, has got his way through. Already he's gesticulating there to Illy Christian, saying, hey, come on, what are you doing? Yes, I came in the lead, but let's not battle. We've got a whole group of drivers right behind us as through goes the other Forza card. Is that Dean Hugendorn? Believe it is in the 102. No, it's the 69 going through. That is Kip Bolosky. So Bolosky, who started on the third row of the grid on the outside behind Dean Hugendorn, has actually got up into second place. So it's Domain from Bolosky, Christian from Kraling, Schaufler. Hugendorn's gone down to P6. That's not what he wanted at all, as Schaufler goes wheel to wheel there with Hugendorn. Kelleher trying to get involved in that battle as well. How close could they be through the Bruno Ferrari S's? But they head over the bridge now, back down the hill. Keep an eye on this one here, because we're side by side here for Kelleher and Schaufler, or Schaufler and Kraling. Kraling's gone backwards. Schaufler gets through. So Kraling now has to dig deep here. He's back at his original starting spot. He hasn't lost any places, but yeah, he might be on the back foot here. Here the energy course down the inside as Mackie goes into the rear bumper there of Paul Andriotis. Andriotis won't be too happy with that one as they exit out of hairpin number 2. As we see here, back for the lead, Bolowski goes through. Kip Bolowski takes the lead of this one, runs a little wide of the exit of Bobby Gain corner, carries just that little bit too much speed round the corner itself, but brings it back onto the circuit and holds on to the lead of this one. Well, Domain there in second place, still looking quick, but Bolowski is another one of these drivers who knows this circuit like the back of his hand, and it might be a case of we see this over the course of the day. It's a real shake-up of kart knowledge of this circuit, and there are a handful of drivers in this, in both categories, who do know this circuit like the back of their hand. But Bolowski and Domain continue to battle away. Domain trying to go down the inside there at the exit of the Littoral Bridge. It looks like it works, but trust me, on the exit, you could just see he could not get the power down, could Domain, and he stays there in second place. They're still, though, breaking away from Christian, who's there in third place. He's down 2, now has the company of Nicholas Schaufler just behind. So Schaufler had good races yesterday, did Schaufler, and I suspect we could see some more good results today. There's the stats of Kip Bolowski, currently P1. Started P6, a gain of 5, a superb start to his race here in the wet conditions, showing again that the skill level is very high throughout the field here. Imagine qualifying did not go well for some drivers out there. The track was a bit slippy for time qualifying. There was a series of rain over the course of the night before, and the track temperature was very low in the morning. Like you say, we only peaked at around 23 degrees air temperature. Track temperature was a fraction lower, as again, the cool breeze. It was a very windy day yesterday as well, which I think, unfortunately, brought all of this weather that we have today over the circuit. Schaufler right now is latched onto the rear bumper of Domain. Big check over the shoulder there for Henry Domain. That is a sign. That's a green light there to Nicholas Schaufler to think, right, he's struggling, he's not enjoying these conditions right now. I can go for this move as soon as I get an opportunity. Here's the replay at the start of it. Oh dear, spin there on the banking, right to the inside. That's why we saw the yellow flag going out, and I believe that one was actually Makar Savalev, who went off the circuit, unfortunately, driving the 88 out of the race in the early stages. There's been another driver who's had a bit of a topsy-turvy one. Aston Sharp, of course, we've seen him go backwards. For Starinado, Enzo Ruggiero, they've gone backwards in this race. Luke Corner, Oliver Rasmussen, they've not had some good runs. But the rest of the field all seems to be on a positive note here, as Schaufler has got past Domain. That battle has happened, and Schaufler moves up into second place. You can see they're moving out of the slipstream. They're getting out of the spray as down the inside here. I thought Hugendorn was going for the move there on Christian into the Bruno Ferrari S's. That was never going to be a brave move there as out of the race. Further back, that looks to me like a Birrell kart, and is that Tamas Gender? I think it is. Tamas Gender out there, I think, could be out of this race. He's not crossed the line, and he's tumbled down the order. Yes, it is. It is the Birrell Art Racing driver out of this one. He will go no further, which is a big shame. This is a close one here. Hugendorn, Mackie, Christen. So Mackie and Hugendorn have both got past Christen now while we were looking away from the battle. But Kraling's still there behind. And again, you're starting to see this trend right now of the kind of Northern European drivers who are all used to this sort of conditions. You've got the Britons, of course. You've got Austrian in terms of Nicholas Schaufler. You've got from the Netherlands, Dean Hugendorn. You've got Canadian as well, Eli Christian, who I'm sure is very used to these conditions. Germany as well, Ian Kraling, are very used to some rain. And Daniel Keller from Ireland, I'm sure very used to rainy conditions as well. You're all seeing these experts in rainy conditions start to push through. Here's over the bridge. That's your race leader. That's second, third. This is the battle that we were seeing there. Both of them getting through. This is Mackie. Watch that beautiful switchback out of the corner, and a view there of the multiple different racing lines that you're seeing. You're seeing the dry racing lines being used. You're seeing the kind of half and half racing line being used, and then you're seing the really the kind of hardcore wet racing line right to the outside, sweep it back in. It looks absolutely wild, and when you're battling with other drivers out there, it can be a little bit risky because, of course, if you open up the door right to the inside of any of these corners, a driver will send it down the inside, and if you're trying to cut back rapidly to get back on the power, it can sometimes end up in a little bit of a getting together between drivers, especially if you don't time it right. Here, though, this is a battle for the race lead. Bolowski leads it from Nicholas Schaufler. The gap is 1.9 seconds. However, Schaufler is the fastest driver out there. That last lap was a 1:17.2, which was the fastest lap of the race. And Schaufler's performance has, well, equaled to that lap time, which you can see there. 5 places gained as Mackie, again, battling with Hugendorn, the 2 teammates. I think this is full wet practice conditions for them right now. You can see the 2 different racing lines, and there you can see from Mackie pushing it long. Oh dear, but I've just spotted his nose cone again. That is wobbling like a trooper out there. And I suspect Harrison Mackie, despite his best efforts in this one, may come away with a post-race penalty on this with that nose cone. So, of course, we don't confirm. That might be how it's put on. It might be how it's set up. It might be set to be loose, but we just don't know. And one would suggest that that has dropped off its bracket, comparing it to Dean Hugendorn, which is still nice and firm there on the front of his kart. Right, well, as they go through, Mackie's got past now, and he's got up 6 places now into P4. But he needs to try and break away now. The good thing about it is if he does pick up a 5 second, 5 seconds added on to 8 would put him well down the order, but he would drop down to around P13, P14, maybe even a little bit lower out there as well. So again, he'll be on the back foot there a little bit at this stage of the race, but if he can continue pulling away here, he benefits himself, because if he opens that 5 second gap up to anyone else behind him, he'll be all good. He won't drop down as far. Lap number 7 at the moment is what we're on. We'll be crossing the line now to go on to lap number 8, the penultimate lap of the race, coming up very, very soon. Look further down the field in this one. Of course, we've had a sea of retirements that we've not called at the moment. Oliver Rasmussen is a retirement. Filippo Pancotti, the latest 2 retirements. They were only in the last few laps ago. The Tony Kart racer and the Powerline racer both out. Thomas Gender, we called him earlier on, unfortunately out of the race. Aston Sharp was before the race even started. Same for Makar Serelev and for Theodore Tubal. Also, their karts on the exit there, you can see on the bridge, out of the way. So you can imagine a bit of drama for many other drivers out there. Not what you want to see. Big movers, though, in this race. Oscar Gallin for the Koski Motorsport team in the 108. 10 places gained. He's up into P19. He's inside the top 20. Having a really good run at the moment. Joel Pockeler up 8 places as well. So pushing it through as, wow, we just saw there on the bottom of your screen. Schaufler on that exit curb. He is pushing hard right now to try and close up to this young man here, Kip Bolowski, who started this race in P6 and leads it now with a gain of 5 places. The gap was 1.7. They cross the line now. It's 1.6. It's coming down just that little bit more, but it's not coming down at a rate that worries Kip Bolowski here. And already you're seeing it from Schaufler. He is digging deep right now. He is pushing as hard as he possibly can. You saw how wide he ran onto the exit curb there. He did set the fastest lap, despite the fact he had a huge oversteer moment on that last lap they were on. But Bolowski leads the way here from Schaufler, both gaining 5 places in this race. The drivers who really excelled in time qualifying in the dry conditions have been struggling here. Eli Christian, who's dropped down to P7. You've got Dean Hugendorn as well, who's dropped down to P5. Domain as well, he's still there in P3. He's done a good job, but he's just not had the pace to close up to these 2 on this final lap. And again, the field is massively spread out at the moment. But here, though, Kip Bolowski in these wet, rainy conditions. This has been a very interesting day of racing so far in the morning. We've not seen races like this for some time, being so spread out. Bolowski takes the win ahead of Nicholas Schaufler across the line. Domain, who is a fair few seconds further down the road, will have to wait to cross the line. He sees the checker flag now ahead of Harrison Mackie. Dean Hugendorn finishes in P5 from Daniel Kelleher. Illy Christian from Ian Kraling, Jacob Ashcroft and Paul Andriotis round out the top 10 on circuit. But there for Kip Bolowski, well, that is a race win, and he can be delighted with that one after a P8 and a P12 yesterday. His third qualifying heat certainly goes his way in this one. Jacob Ashcroft, who started P4 as well, not having the best race, but a P9 is still not the end of the world. It's a top 10 finish for the young Briton. And of course, he's pushing in his early stages in his OKJ career. Of course, well known in other classes of racing and is pretty rapid in those other classes as well. But here right now in the OKJ, bit of a learning curve to deal with. Right now dealing with it well. Here's a look at the full classifications. Let's have a go from 11th place downwards, because we've already talked about the top 10. 11th place is Boris Lysen, Joel Pokler from Bruno Greek, Alex Malota and Sky Parker rounding out the top 15, all of them gaining positions in the race. Manuel Maguez gaining 3, finishes in P16 from Xiao Zijun. Luke Cornder was the only dropper in positions in that sort of stage of the race. P18 for him, down 6 places. Max Endicott, Oster Gallin, Dean Pedersen, Simas Bachuska, Marcel Sebo, Sonia B and Enzo Ruggiero for Starinado ran out the 26 karts that finished that race as they all make their way back into Parc Ferme. There is Kip Bolowski, and I'm sure we'll be delighted with that result. No drama there. Nicolas Schaufler comes on over, gives his congratulations, and I can imagine having a brief chat about, well, the conditions out there. How was it for you? Probably a little bit horrible, is what I would say. There was Theodore Tabel's stricken kart before the start of the race. He was the first retirement, and unfortunately for him, wouldn't start his race very strongly. Rest of the race would carry on very well. Christian at the start of that one with Hugendorn. Not a bad start, but it would be Domain who would get up into second place in the early stages. There at the start was Makar Savalev for the Fusion Motorsport kart, not having the best getaway. This was the first attempt here, and through would go Henry Domain. He would get up into the lead of that one, just squeezing Illy Christian onto that exit curb. There again, the Forza kart. This was our man who won the race, Kip Bolowski, who made his way through the field right there at the early stages, showing that the pace was there from the word go. No drama whatsoever. Mackie round the outside of the Sodi kart there of Boris Lysen. Lysen in the 121, just eking backwards in the order on that one, but still not having a bad race because he was still gained 2 places overall in that one. Then we saw the dramatic runs there, unfortunately, for Harrison Mackie. A little bit of contact there between himself and Paul Andriotis, put themselves on the back foot and then had to push himself forward. This was out of the Fullerton S's and in towards Bobby Game corner. This was the change for the lead. Bolowski down the inside of Domain. Absolutely nothing that Henry Domain could have done on that one. And there you can see using all the track and that little bit more on the exit there for Kip Bolowski. So again, he's had to push hard over the course of the day, but so has everyone else, and certainly very dramatic moments all the way throughout it. Again, big sort of moments there. It's so easy to just drop a wheel on a white line here or on the grass. You see very interesting moments. This was Schaufler going for second place. That would be the last change within the top 3 for, well, the race on lap number 4. Schaufler would try and close in on Bolowski. This shot here kind of really showcasing the different racing lines through over the bridge. You can see here there multiple of drivers, some taking the optimal wet racing line, some taking the tighter inside line, but everyone choosing a different thing, which is a very interesting one. There was Thomas Gender, unfortunately the Birrell Racing driver, not ending his race well, retiring P29 for him. The later retirements, Filippo Pancotti and Oliver Rasmussen would round out the racing on that one a little further down the order, both of them retiring. But across the line, as we went on to lap number 7, there was the nose cone that you can see flapping up and down. Harrison Mackie getting in front of Dean Hugendorn, clipping that curb as well, but showing that it's tough to gain those positions here, but it's so easy to pick up that nose cone penalty. And there, Kip Bolowski, his car all over the place there. He was really lucky to keep control of that one for some of those moments. The back stepping out, a lot of curb through some sections as well. A real shake-up for the field, but again, another calm one at the front as Bolowski takes the win ahead of Nicholas Schaffler and Henry Domain. Well, the seniors now for Group E and F will be coming up next in a few moments' time. And again, all the way throughout this one, they have pushed themselves hard in this, but we've got a driver in this that, again, has got maximum points to his name and could be a contender for Joe Turney if his wet racing conditions or wet racing technique goes his way, because he starts it on the front row of the grid. It is qualifying heat E and F coming up next, and it starts with Jacob Mikulev starting it on pole position. There he is on your screen. The driver starting it for the Victory Lane team on pole position of the 231. 2 8th places and a 5th yesterday for Jacob Mikulev. Certainly needing to deliver in this one, needing those better results. Still been inside the top 10. So it's not been terrible results, but certainly has been in a position where he needs to really focus and try and push himself forward. Rain is just still falling right now. It's absolutely dreadful out there. I can imagine if you were dry this morning and you've been stood out there all day, I can imagine you're getting pretty soaked through now. Out there. There is Ross Upton, our judge of fact, who, despite the fact that he has got shelter under there, is choosing to stand out in the rain, which is beyond my knowledge. Green light is flashing. We are ready to go racing. Qualifying heat, E versus F, heads out onto the circuit. Let's take you through the full starting lineup. Jacob Mikulev and Scott Lindblom starts this one on the front row. And it is Scott Lindblom, who we're talking about there, who has had the multiple race wins so far. 100 points to his name, and starts this one on the front row of the grid. They will have Dries van Langendonk and Thibaut Ramekers starting alongside Ramekers, who has had a DNF and a third over the course of the day, the weekend. Needs to have good results today. Jimmy Elias and Luna Flusha going from row number 3. Sadamat Soy and Guy Albag on row 4. Gabriel Stilt will not be out there. Unfortunately, a red flag incident yesterday forced him to unfortunately retire from the weekend. Broken ankle going his way, hopefully makes a speedy recovery. So Matteo Giaccardi will be all on his own on row number 5. Lewis Gilbert and Tatiana Monza round out row number 6. Andrea Dupe and Guillaume Bouzard on row 7. They'll have Dominic Simic and Austin Gale on row 8. Ian Eichmann and Davide Bataro on row 9. They'll have Vivek Canthan and Louis Castellini on row 10. Fred Green and Jakub Kamenek on row number 11. Marcus Chilkunis and Maximum Rafalek on row 12. They'll have Roland Cooklane and Harley Keeble on row 13. Nico Hanalate and Matilda Itzkovic round out row number 14, and the 27 carts that'll be out there, of course. No Gabriel Stilp, who was spending his first weekend with the Tony Kart Racing team. Unfortunately, a rollover on the Litchfield Bridge in one of his qualifying heats has forced him to retire. And yes, unfortunately, did hear from this team and his family that it was confirmed a broken ankle for the young Briton after that accident. So if he is watching at home, Gabriel, we do wish you the very best and a speedy recovery. But the race will go on, of course, so this weekend. And a reminder of some of the positions, of course, we've spoken about Jacob Mikulev, Scott Lindblom, of course, with his 2 qualifying heat wins. Dries van Langendonk is an interesting case in this one. Doesn't sit inside the top 10 in the intermediate classification, but that's, of course, we've had other senior races. But 7th and 2 second places. They are good results still for Van Langendonk, and despite the fact that he didn't get a great qualifying because he sits in the second row, Group E. Remember, Group A are the fastest drivers in the group, so yeah, if you find yourself in Group E and F, which is where we are, this is no like offence to the drivers out there, but they were the slowest drivers in qualifying. They've been put in this groups. And the fact that we see Thibaut Ramekers, our championship leader in this group, Dries van Langendonk, who's also pretty up there in the championship, of course. Well, he is the leader of the championship in the senior category, in the junior category, but he stepped up into the senior category for this one. So there he's pushing his way through. So he's lost his contention for that one. He's thinking about what he can do maybe for the Worlds. But out to the final corner. Are we going? First time of asking in this one. Yes, we are. We are racing down in towards turn number 1. It's a good start for Jacob Mikulev again. The spray kicking up as everyone pushes the way through. Lindblom, has he managed to get a good start in this one? I can see him there. He's third. He's going to look to the inside. Now it's a half spin, and he loses that line to the inside, and he allows the victory lane kart to head through. Over the bridge they go. I can see there's marshals running, and there are carts underneath the bridge that I can see from my commentary box position, and we will find out who they are in a brief moment, but they start a little about midway point of the field. Tiziana Monza is one of them. Guillaume Bouzard is the other, the two drivers involved in the incident under the bridge. But I think they've managed to get it restarted. Luna Flusha there on the infield, trying to get involved here. Is getting squeezed onto the inside there. And wow, that was a big defensive lunge there. Was that Dries van Langendonk holding on to that one? I think it might have been the 337 trying to hold on to any of these positions that he possibly can. But Flusha now is going to go wheel to wheel with Lewis Gilbert. Lewis Gilbert from Scotland. The Diamond of Dalry, I should say, in Scotland is Lewis Gilbert, but he's pushing his way forward in this one. In these wet conditions, he is very used to conditions like this, and so far pushing his way forward. Here's Ramikas, though, at the front, and Mikhaev is just behind him right now. He's not had the good getaway. It's Jimmy Elias who leads the way. Elias, who has had a very strong day yesterday. He had a second, third, and then a win to end his day. He might have a win here to start his day. Gilbert to the inside, goes wheel to wheel there with Van Langendonk. And there, just can't get it through. Guy Albag there as well, trying to get involved in the Kart Republic. But he is just ahead of them at this moment. Gilbert's got through, though. Gilbert now trying to look to the inside here. A little bit of touch in there between the two of them. You can see it's a fine line between just holding on to that position and just a little bit too much of a knock to send a drive around, but great car control from the two of them, both Albag and Gilbert, as they push along in this race. Here at the front, though, Elias is under pressure. Lindblom here is there, but oh, that was a big mistake there for Scott Lindblom, and a big mistake there for Jimmy Elias. There, he went straight into the barrier. He understeered straight off the circuit. And now as well, Lindblom is going a little bit slowly. He's looking down at the engine there, maybe adjusting something on the carb. I think they're all trying to do something here now, as it's all going very slowly for the drivers. And now Ramikas gets through. And so does Gilbert. Lewis Gilbert gets up into third place, as Jimmy Elias is all over the road here. He is not focused at all. He clipped the barrier there from the lead. He jumped down into second place, and now he's tumbled to fourth. He's going to take a lot of that inside curb. That's, for some drivers, they don't find that the fastest way through the bridge section. Here comes Ramikas. He's going to go for the lead here on Lindblom. Lindblom now another one of the new junior drivers for the Red Bull team. You can see that with his new livery, his new helmet design he's got there. He's still got his old Scott Lindblom design on top. As round goes Ramikas. Round goes Thibaut Ramikas at hairpin number 2. The driver who is leading the championship standings going into this weekend is now looking at a second DNF in his qualifying heat. He is gifting this championship to Joe Turney, who is on maximum points. This is Gilbert fighting for the lead. Lewis Gilbert has taken the lead of this race. The driver who started this one in the midfield, he started P11, now takes the lead. Elias has no control over that kart. He's trying to adjust something again on the carburetor, but that kart has just got no traction out there whatsoever. He is slipping and sliding all over the place. Guy Albag, this is a superb drive for Guy Albagino. He's looking at his best result of the weekend here. 6 places he's gained so far in this race as he sits there in second place, but Van Langendonk's going to make it a challenge for him. Van Langendonk there is in third place. He is trying to push through up in this order, but again, he is just struggling to find the pace. Louis Castellini, though, fastest driver on circuit. And where does Louis Castellini sit? Well, he's currently 23rd place. Is Thibaut Ramikas still in this race? I think he is. Ramikas is still running, but he's 24th, right at the back of the field, as Lewis Gilbert is now under investigation. I have no idea what that's for. It's early stages of the race. It could be for the start. We just don't know. But Lewis Gilbert, who leads the way by nearly a second now from Guy Albag, is under investigation, and I can imagine he'll see that board now as he crosses the line. How will he take it as more coming together there out to the final corner? I don't think Lewis Gilbert took it well as round goes Flusha. Luna Flusha, the Spaniard who finished second in her first race yesterday, fifth in her second, is out in her third attempt in the qualifying heats, and the Prema driver will go no further in qualifying heat E versus F. Well, that is a huge shame, and what on earth happened there? Now, she was on the inside into the corner. This might give us an inkling. Is that why Gilbert's under investigation? Was there contact between himself and Ramekers that put him in that position? Did the championship leader go round? Now, here's what happened to Flush. You can see she's on the inside, clips the curb. Oh, and just a little bit of contact there. A little bit of contact. I say the media man very quickly to spring out of the way there of the Marshall post. But, yeah, that is a big shame then for two super talented drivers out of this race. So Gilbert's under investigation then for potentially that contact with Thibaut Ramekers. Now, anything that would come his way, of course, a 5-second time penalty would be obviously the go-to of a penalty for anything. So that's what we always go for. Obviously, things may differ between that one, as through goes Van Langendonk as on Guy Alberghino. Alberghino back down to P3. Yeah, so for Gilbert, a 5-second time penalty, if that comes his way, a 5-second time penalty, that'll put him down to, well, it will put him down at the moment only to P3, which shows how spread out, again, that open field is right now, as Eichmanns is going to send it down the inside of Elias. And again, Elias's kart, the back is stepping out there. He is not enjoying these wet conditions in this second half of the race. The start of the race, he was absolutely fine, was Elias. He got into the lead. It was just that spin at the start. Here is that replay again. Definite contact there. You do see the front nose cone make contact, and he's not happy. Like you say, throws his hands up in protest. Here's another angle of it. Can we see it? Bosh, yeah, there's a clear bit of contact there, and of course that investigation flag will be out for Lewis Gilbert. So he just has to dig deep right now. He has to dig deep and try and break away, and well, at the moment, he's doing just that. He's 4 seconds clear from Van Langendonk in second place. He is just under 5 seconds clear from Guy Albag in third place. They'll cross the start-finish line now. What are the new gaps going to be? Well, they're going to be 3.9 and they're going to be 5.1. So if Gilbert only picks up a 5-second time penalty, he will drop to second place in that race, which will still be a very good result. But, of course, it's not down to me. It's down to what the stewards feel will be right for anything that happens out in the racing. Jacob Mikalev has had a dismal race in this one, the same as many others. We've not really called them out in this one, but they've tumbled down the order. Jacob Mikalev is one of them. He's tumbled down the order. Sada Matsui, unfortunately, the Japanese driver, not having a good one in this one, is down in 21st place. Scott Lindblom as well. 2 wins yesterday in the dry conditions, is looking at a 22nd place right now, right at the back of the field. The retirements, though, at the moment, Luna Flusha we've seen, Ramekers we've seen, Monza, Buzar, Itzkovic, all retirements, and, of course, the non-starter of Gabriel Stilp, I should say. Ian Eichmanns here on your screen, currently running in P4, has got Guy Albag right in front. Now, Eichmanns has had a brilliant race in this one. 13 places gained right now, pushing himself in the field, but he's not had a good run there through the order. This is not the sort of results that we usually have seen from Eichmanns in these sort of conditions, but he's certainly taking to this one very nicely. Eichmanns has certainly pushed himself forward, of course, formerly with the Eichmanns Grand Prix team. Now he races a lot with the Birolart team as well, but still obviously has a lot of passion with the Eichmanns team. But right now pushing his way through. Update on Lewis Gilbert, his gaps, what are they? Well, Eichmanns is 6.7 seconds further down the road, so he's definitely only looking at a second place if he only picks up a 5-second. Van Langendonk is 4.8. If Gilbert can open that up just that little bit more, he might be all good here, as the whole field here have all gained place. Everyone is up right now. Oh, there is Scott Lindblom. He's out of the race, the new Red Bull junior driver this season. And yeah, he's just a shake of the head, just saying it's not good, it's not working, and he just went backwards in that race. That is a huge shame for the driver from Sweden. Harley Keeble looks to be in a spot of bother out there as well. He's currently running in 21st place, not having a good run. He's up still 5 places, but Keeble, who has been most commonly known racing out in the USA for quite some time, is back in the UK, and I'm sure is not enjoying these conditions too much. Back with the race leader, Gilbert, up 10 places, is clear by 4.8 seconds from the rest of the field. Van Langendonk, Eichmanns, Eilbag, Elias and Botaro. Botaro is up 12 places. Vivek Kanthan is up 12 places in this race as well. Superb drive from those two. Matteo Giaccardi is up 2 in 8P8. Fred Green is up 12 places in P9. Andrea Dube is in 10th place, up 3 places. Dominic Simak is up 4 places in P11. Maximum Rafalik is up 12 places in P12. You know, everyone's just gained positions here. Castellini's gained 7, Gale's gained 2, Cook Lane's gained 10, Chilkunis has gained 7 as well, Hanalate has gained 10 as well, and Harley Keeble has retired from this race, so it's been drama for the young Brit, who unfortunately his first time back in the UK racing for quite some time. It's not gone his way. There though, Eichmanns all on his own in 3rd place, 14 places gained, is 7.4 seconds behind Gilbert, and update on that battle, Gilbert was just above 5 seconds clear of Dries Van Langendonk, but Van Langendonk's put in a lap here, and I think he's been told by the team to push, because they will probably think that, yeah, there's probably coming Lewis Gilbert's way, so there could be a race win in here for Dries Van Langendonk. There though, Guy Albang pushing still very firmly in P4 all the way to the end of this one, and well, drama has ensued in terms of the championship in this one. Ramekers, well, he's looking at no points here. He's looking at no points in this qualifying heats phase. Again, the DNF he had earlier on, he did have a 3rd place, but another DNF. A 3rd place is not going to help him out at all in this one. Maximum Rafalik sees a warning flag, so he's in the eyes of the race control team at the moment as well, so he does need to be careful. But here, Lewis Gilbert, out there on the circuit, part of the Kraft Motorsport team, and certainly pushing his way forward. Great to see the Kraft team in the Champions of the Future Racing in the OK category. This is the first time that Gilbert's been running on this OK engine as well. It's very well known in other classes as well, and Miami Rotax and all of that. But he's racing now for the first time this weekend on the OK platform. He's got the TM-powered engine on board his wagon, and so far this weekend, it's been an up-and-down one for him. Like I say, qualifying didn't really go his way. He got a little bit caught out in it, but he's certainly delivered in this one on the Tony Kart chassis, pushing his way throughout on this final lap. Has re-extended his lead now to over 5 seconds. So if Van Langendonk on this last lap can really close in, he might get away with a race victory here. And that's, of course, if something goes towards Lewis Gilbert. If nothing goes to Lewis Gilbert, of course, everything I say is purely provisional here. Don't believe anything I say, really, in terms of that. But, you know, he could really be in a situation here where he could come away with a race win. So could it be Gilbert? Could it be Van Langendonk? At the moment, it's on a knife edge right now, 5.059 seconds. Gilbert is going to take the win across the line, but if a penalty goes his way, could Van Langendonk get it? Across the line they go. We'll find out what the gap is in a few moments' time. Gilbert takes the win, but what's the gap from Van Langendonk? The gap is 5.1 seconds. So if Gilbert picks up a penalty for that incident with Thibaut Ramekers, he would still win the race. That is outstanding. Well, Dries Van Langendonk will finish in P2. Eichmanns will finish in P3 after gaining 14 places. Guy Albag from Jimmy Elias. Davide Botaro, 12 places gained from Vivek Kanthan's 12 places. Giaccardi from Simek, and Austin Gale, who gained 6 places, rounds out the top 10. on circuit. The drivers are still crossing the line now, and Lewis Gilbert's heading into the final sector on the circuit. That just shows how spread the field was right now, and once again, a multitude of retirements out in this race. But let's have a look at the full classification at the end of that one. It's Lewis Gilbert from Van Langendonk, Eichmans from Albag, Elias from Botaro, Canton from Giacardi, Simek from Gale, Dub from Cook Lane, Castellini from Green, and Shilkunis, who rounds out the top 15. 16th place downwards sees Nico Planalate, Jakob Kamenek, and Jacob Mikalev. Sadamatsui from Maximilian Rafalik, Harley Keeble, Scott Lindblom, Luna Flusha, Thibaut Ramekers finishing in that order, but were all retirement starting from Maximilian Rafalik downwards. So again, 27 karts starting it, only 19 finishing it. The finish to retirement ratio that we're seeing right now today in these wet conditions is nothing I think we've ever seen before. It is somewhat unheard of, the difficulty these drivers are having in these conditions. But let's have a look at the highlights from it. And again, you just can't see the drivers behind. The spray is so intense, and that might be the reason why. There you can see Lindblom going over the curb there, and the spin in the early stages, that's what saw the drivers out in the early stages. I think we had Tiziano Monza there and Guillaume Bouzard in the early stages, and a spin underneath that bridge is an almighty scary thing to have to deal with, especially if you're in the mid-pack, because the drivers behind certainly close up quickly. Jimmy Elias was an interesting one for me. Started P5, got up into the race lead in the opening stages of that lap, and there it is in the race lead. And look at the advantage that he had at this point of the race. Jimmy Elias certainly pushing him through, but it's when he gets into this sector here. Watch Scott Lindblom, because Lindblom gets through into second place, but keep an eye, understeer, 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 straight off the track there. Not what you want to see. And then you see it again at the next lap, and then it's on the next lap where Lindblom can just send it down the inside. There was Ramekers battling away there in the early stages with Jakob Mikalev, who would end up dropping down the order. Dries van Langendonk battling away with Lewis Gilbert. This is the moment here. Lindblom made the mistake. Then, watch this, completely misjudged the power, right out there onto the barriers, and instantly Jimmy Elias is on the carburetor there thinking, what's going on? But then so is Scott Lindblom, and out the corner, the two make contact again. And there you can see, adjusting, there's no power coming out of it, so something was clearly happening with his car. He adjusted something maybe in the wrong way on that car for Jimmy Elias, and that just put him on the back foot now. And from there, I think he was super distracted because his kart was just oversteering everywhere. This was Ramekers going for the lead, and I thought for this one, we were going to see Ramekers just kind of break away from the rest of the field. There you can see Gilbert tucking in behind, and then as they get in towards hairpin number 2, Bosch right there, a little bit of front to rear, and round would go Ramekers. Absolutely nothing he could do here. This was another angle of it. You could see definitely the contact there, and an investigation flag would then come out for Gilbert. This was Elias trying to battle away fiercely with Guy Albag, but Albag wise to the moves and was able to get the power down out of Pitts Bend and push his way through. Luna Flusha as well, who had good results yesterday, certainly was another driver who was starting to make his way through the field, but unfortunately for her, this moment here, down the inside, contact with Jakob Mikalev, and round she would go. She would not even bother trying to get it restarted. She would just retire, and I think that is the mood that you're seeing here from the drivers. This wet racing is just not falling in their way. Lewis Gilbert, though, would take the win, but that is provisional with a capital P, of course. But he did lead by over 5 seconds, so we'll have to see who takes the win in that one. Could it be Gilbert or could it be Van Langendonk? Well, qualifying heat B versus G is coming up next out on circuit, and again, the juniors, they're certainly going to have to deliver in this one because we see James Anagnostianis back out on circuit after his racing earlier on. He'll have Jacopo Martinez for company up there as well. We saw these drivers racing earlier on out on track, but we are moments away from that. There's a lengthy cleanup operation underway at the moment. The track out there is very sodden, and there, the dedicated, hard-working marshals. I can't stress it enough here at Trent Valley Kart Club. They've got some of the finest marshals from the UK, all giving up their rested time to come and look after these drivers out on the circuit. And there you can see trying to clear as much of the standing water off the track as possible. There is Jacopo Martinez starting this one on the front row as well. Again, had a very interesting race yesterday, but this is the first time that we're seeing him today. 2 second places and a third. But like you say, we are expecting a little bit of a lengthy wait until we will get this one out on circuit. There, some of the spectators out there as well, ducking cover under some of the trees out there. That's probably a smart thing to do. It's a very, very horrible day out there, to say the least. There is Christian Costoya. Again, he's needing some good results on this one. He had the 2 wins earlier on in his weekend, but the DNF yesterday came kind of putting him on the back foot. But we'll have to see what he can do in this next one. While the cleanup operation happens and continues, we are going to take a short ad break. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back with the Junior Qualifying Heat B versus G.
MVA is a multi-award-winning online school for pupils aged 10 to 18. We offer a flexible, personalised schedule, allowing students to learn on their own terms from anywhere in the world. A dynamic weekly timetable includes assemblies, e-learning, live lessons, one-to-one mentoring, and after-school clubs. Our high-performance club is specifically designed to support elite athletes. Specially trained mentors give weekly one-to-one sessions and report on academic progress and well-being. With over 300 pupils from 30 countries worldwide, MVA has redefined what's possible with 21st century learning, making it the perfect solution for balancing training and competition schedules with a world-class education.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Champions of the Future, round 5 here at the PF International Kart Circuit in Lincolnshire in the United Kingdom. And as you can see, the United Kingdom is living up to its name of a beautiful, rainy, just after summer's day. I think we're very much firmly into autumn now here in the United Kingdom. The trees are starting to turn fractionally orange, but they're still mainly green. It's certainly a very interesting time for the drivers, but we're not going to talk about the seasons. We're going to talk about the races. There on your screen, Andrea Mani starting this one on the second row of the grid. The driver from Monaco certainly has delivered 3 top 10 results so far this weekend. As he sees 2 of the officials from the Trent Valley Kart Club there, Ryan Manchester, who is our start grid marshal, and Dan Ashton alongside the clerk of the course here for this weekend. There is Carrera Fairhand as well. Again, good results from Carrera Fairhand earlier on. We've seen 10th and 7th earlier on in their first races, but for Group B later on today, a little bit of a different story. Of course, we see drivers really struggling in these wet conditions. We've seen a multitude of retirements as well, and in the juniors, Carrera Fairhand didn't retire, but did take a P6 in the first race, which was good to see. Christian Costoya was another dramatic one. A P4, so still a good result. And for James Anagnostiadis, taking his first win of the weekend in his first race earlier on. So looking forward to seeing what he can do. But again, they've already done a race on these wet tyres. The drivers who start on the right-hand side of the grid, as we look at them down the start-finish straight, are on a fresh set. Let's take you through the starting lineup. It's James Anagnostiadis and Jacopo Martinez on row number 1. Christian Costoia and Andrea Mani on row 2. Karea Ferhan and Ludovico Mazzola on row 3. They'll have Bosco Arias and Roman Kamyab on row 4. Kenzo Craigie and Drew Waltz go from row 5. They'll have Kasper Reipold and Jack Eiliff on row 6. George Edgar and Augustus Toniolo on row 7. Archie Owen and Sana Z on row 8. Sebastian Mins and Vanessa Schilkenate on row 9. They'll have Jacques Troja and Jean-Matthieu Rousseau on row 10. Marco Gast and Kian Bernard on row 11. They'll have Kanishka Rao and Kian Bernard. There on your screen is George Edgar, however. George Edgar, who was due to start this one, P13, has not fired up on the pre-grid. Now, they will get another chance to get it going, but they have to start it from the back. But let's finish the order while that is unfolding there. Remy Samchek, Gilles Herman on row 13. Duganov and Rivals on row 14. You've got Amir Saborev and Gustavo de Silva on row 15. Tio Polikan and Lev Krutilov. Marco Manson rounding out the field of 33 karts. Let's see, as the field makes their way past, will they give George Edgar the chance of getting back onto the circuit? One would think that that would be the case, but we will have to see what happens, as he is still on my screen not clocking up, so he hasn't left the dummy grid just as of yet. There he goes. Are we going to get it restarted? You can't push it all the way onto the track, and it's not going to fire up. And unfortunately for George Edgar, that might be his race not starting here. They can give it another attempt, but again, this attempt now, that has to happen once the race has started. They will not be allowed, or they might be able to if there's enough time, to get them out. But by that time, you're going to have a full grid of karts ready to form up and ready to go. You don't want a slow kart trying to get up to temperature while a full grid of fully temperatured up karts head through turn number 1. So I can imagine they will have to wait and see if we can go out in the next one. So that's a big shame for George Edgar on that one. It's a really tough one. As round goes, that's Kasper Reipold. Kasper Reipold, who retired earlier on, the Koski Motorsport driver. Once again, he's going to try and get it restarted. You've got to keep your head on a swivel there. There are still karts that are coming around the order. But he's out of this race because, well, they're starting to line up ready to go here into the final corner. Are we going? First time of asking, into the tram lines. We are racing. We are green flag. And Anagnostiadis again on the inside line, holds onto it. Keo Fairhand switches to the inside there. Karts tumbling onto the grass here. Jacopo Martinez trying to hold on to the inside there as Keo Fairhand goes a little bit wide into the exit. I can see on track that George Edgar has got going, which is good to see. So he is in this race, but he's currently, he's technically not started the race. He hasn't crossed the start-finish line yet when they've gone green. There's a spin there in the background at the top of the Litchfield Bridge. Yellow flags are out, so some drivers having to take to the runoff there. So Reipold's out of the race. Mick Barrett, George Edgar, they're still going. It's at the back of the grid, though. Birilat, Gustavo de Silva, and Lev Krutilov, unfortunately, have had a coming together on the opening lap. But once again, James Anagnostiadis, in these wet conditions, is breaking away here comfortably. The Australian, today, I don't know if they changed something with the setup-wise. Obviously, they must have done. Maybe just the wet setup is much more to his liking here, because he was really struggling in the dry conditions. It was tumbling down the order. P6 in 2 of them and a second place in another. But today, a race win earlier on. He's looking at another one here right now, but it's only going on to lap number 2. And it is Anagnostiadis who leads from Costoia, Craigie, Martinez from Kamyab, Kerefehan from Mins, Mani from Arias, Eiliff from Mazzola, Samchek from Waltz, Owen from Tertoja and Rousseau, Toniolo and Gast, Rao and Brunner, who round out the top 20, Marco Manson has gained 12 places in this race in the opening lap and is up into P21. A superb start to his race. The same for Sebastian Mins. Now, we saw Sebastian Mins do something very similar to this earlier on. He shot through the field, and he's doing the same right now. Here is Costoya. He's just lost out to Kenzo Craigie. That's the banner for P2 now done and dusted, and Craigie will join his Prema Racing teammate in 1-2. The only question remains is that can he close that gap up, that gap that is just under now 2 full seconds out on the circuit in this opening stage of the race. That is unbelievable pace that we're seeing from James and Ignatianis in this early stage. Jacopo Martinese there in the number 4, though, also trying to close in. You can again see the different racing lines. Now, Martinese, he has been struggling in these wet conditions so far this weekend. He had dry conditions yesterday in the qualifying heats, second and third. Absolutely fine with that, no drama. But when it came to his warm-up sessions in the wet conditions, you could see he was struggling quite a lot. He was tumbling down the order a little bit. He wasn't having the best results. Right now, he seems to have sorted something out. He's found something in the bag, and he's been able to really put a show on this one. But he's under pressure a little bit more now because, well, straight down the inside comes Sebastian Mins and says thank you very much and moves up into P6. So Sebastian Mins now up 11 places in this race. There's yellow flags out now in this final sector, so more drivers have had problems, and well, we'll try and find out who they are. There's a smattering of drivers who haven't crossed the line yet. George Edgar crosses the line now. Jagat Troja, I think, is the latest retirement. Gianmatteo Rousseau, I think, is another one. So they are out of this race, and as I say it, I think that's them right there being pulled out of the way. Yep, there is the DPK liveried cart pushing its way off the circuit. Gianmatteo Rousseau going no further, the driver from Panama, in this race. Jaguar Troja again involved in that one. Lap number 4 of 9 right now, and Anagnostianis, Craigie, Costoya, Kamiab, Mins, Martineze, Kare Fairhand, Manny, Arias and Eilif are still the top 10. And they're spread out by quite some way at the moment. 10 seconds separating the top 10 out there as they all try to find their own sort of racing line at the moment. And at this moment, Anagnostianis continuing to put in the purple sectors here through Sector 1. His pace is so much faster than his teammate Kenzo Craigie through Sector 1. Kenzo Craigie lapping at a 26.9 in Sector 1. And then 26.3 running Anagnostianis. This battle here, though, is the most exciting one on circuit. Christian Costoy, Roman Kamiab and Sebastian Mins, the 2 Ricky Flynns versus the Paralin. And Kamiab trying to go for the move there into Bobby Kane. Denied this one into the Mike Wilson complex. Again, different racing lines here. We've seen the moves down the inside. We're going to see another one down the inside. Sebastian Mins going through. But, well, Roman Kamiab says no thank you and takes that one back and moves back in front of his teammate. But again, the two go wheel to wheel on the start-finish straight, but Mins gives it up, stays behind, and that allows Costoy to break away. So now these two need to have a discussion between themselves. Do we work together, or do we battle all the way throughout this one? Because, like you're saying, Costoy there in 3rd place, breaking away, is going to add another good result to his name. Despite that DNF, Christian Costoya is still looking good in the intermediate classification because he currently sits 3rd in it. James Anagnostianis still leads that one right now, 212. These 2 races are certainly going to help him out a lot here if he gets 2 race wins, the 2nd place and the 2 6th places, of course, from the other day. Kenzo Craigie at the moment 2nd in the intermediate classifications, 201 points. So again, Craigie there in P2 is helping himself out quite nicely as well. He's got past Marsh, Martineze, Lovett, Schaufler, Fairhand, Kraling and Zulfikari as well. They are the top 10 in the intermediate classifications as we keep an eye on this battle. Kamiab now has broken away from Mins, so he might be able to go to work here on Costoy if he finds a clear way through. Now, this may just be my British culture coming out here, but I would say it's brightening up out there a little bit. I'm starting to see a little bit of definition in the clouds up above, which means that they're starting to to lift a little bit. So if that's just me being very optimistic, I'm not too sure, or if anyone else agrees with me at the circuit here, but it definitely looks a little brighter out there, which is nice to see. There is the battle for the race lead. Anagnosiadis and Craigie, the two Premers, gaps 2.1. Nothing closing in at the moment between them. This, though, is heating up. Kamiab is past Costa. Mins is now going to try and get his way through. Checks over the shoulder for Sebastian Mins. Sees that he's got a nice clear gap between himself and the drivers behind. Means he can go to work here. Gets the switchback out of hairpin number 2. And, oh, Costoya getting caught out on the grass there. Just hooking a wheel off the track and into that green part. Just pulls him onto the track and unfortunately lost a lot of speed there down the infield straight into the Fullerton S's. So he's lost out dearly on that one. But eyes focused on this. Could we still see action between these two Ricky Flynn Motorsport teammates? They have been a little bit feisty in the early stages of this race. And for Kamiab and Mills, both of them are feisty drivers. They know how to battle. They're not afraid to go for a lunge if they deem it fit. But of course, the only thing they've got to take away is that it is your teammate there. There's a look at the battle for third place. Kamiab, Sebastian Mins, Costoy. You can see the gaps forming between them. And if they do start scrapping, Costoy can take full advantage of that. He will be able to close back in on them, despite the fact that his pace right now is struggling just that little bit. I don't think Sebastian Mins is going to try anything too soon. I don't think he's going to try anything too brash as well, is Sebastian Mins. He does not want to take his teammate out of the race. Of course, we saw drama between the two teammates earlier on in the weekend. Yesterday, we saw a big moment for Paul Andriotis, where he was battling away with his teammate Roman Kamiab yesterday, and Paul Andriotis had a big moment in the start-finish wall later on yesterday. This battle's heating up here. Jack Iliff, Archie Owen, Remy Samchek battling away. This is around P12 out on the circuit. Now they're in a good position right now because he's gained 14 places at the moment, has Remy Samchek, so he's making his good fight through the field at the moment. Brief yellow flags out. In fact, no, we still have yellow flags out at turn number 1, exactly where these drivers are going. Now, who is the driver who is involved in that one? And I can't see the kart, but someone who is not clocking up anymore on my screen is Vanessa Schilkenater, unfortunately. The Koski Motorsport driver is not going around. The Lithuanian, I think, might be out of this race. This is an interesting one. Martinez and Karel Fairhand having a good little battle. The Kart Republic and the Paralin drivers going wheel to wheel at this point. More yellow flags out to turn number 1, and off the track goes the 103. Off the track, and that is Remy Samchek. We were talking about him very briefly. He was in the mid-pack. He was well up the order, and that you can see he's devastated knowing that the fact that all those positions I'd gained were now for nothing. And how did it happen? All by himself. All by himself, just too much speed, and there you can see the frustration, just thinking, what on earth was that for Remy Samchek? And, well, that is disastrous as we're on the final lap of this race. Anagnosiadis still leads the way comfortably. It's a Prema 1-2, Ricky Flynn 3-4. Paralin Motorsport rounding out the top 5. There is the stricken kart of Remy Samchek going no further, so yellow flag still out there while marshals try and get that to a safe position. But us on the final lap, they're probably going to keep the yellows out there for the time being. Here, your race leader, though, despite the best efforts from Kenzo Craigie, has not managed to close in on his teammates. And for James Anagnosiadis, well, he's looking at a second qualifying heat win here, looking at 212 intermediate classification points, taking the lead of the point standings. But of course, there is a lot of races to go later on today, so make sure that you stay tuned for these ones, because again, we just don't know what's going to happen. Craigie there, you just see under the camera shot there, running very wide on the exit. He is trying so hard to close in, but it's all going to be for nothing here. But he can settle for a P2. Can Kenzo Craigie. It's still a very strong result after starting P9 out on circuit. James Anagnosiadis claims his second win. Kenzo Craigie finishes in second place ahead of Roman Kamiab, who gained 5 positions in that race. Sebastian Mins gaining 13 places, finishes in P4 ahead of Christian Costoya. Jacopo Martinez finishes in P6. That is his worst result of the weekend, but it's still a top 10 finish, so still nothing to be sad about. Like I was saying, Costoya as well. P5 for Costoya in the end of that one. Certainly still a very strong result. Care Fairhand from Bosco Arias, Jack Eiliff from Andrea Mani, Archie Owen from Drew Waltz, Kanishka Rao from Ludovico Mazzola, and Marco Manson, who rounds out the top 15 with a position gain of 18 places. For the driver from New Zealand, that is a superb effort in these wet racing conditions, and the driver for the Forza Racing team can certainly be delighted with that result as he will make his way back into Parc Ferme. Well, we'll have a look at the full race results at the end of that one. You can imagine, again, another lengthy cleanup operation is underway, but let's have a look at the full results. He's gone over the top 15. 16th place downward sees the Brazilian of Augustus Toniolo, Marco Gas from Lev Krutilov, Matteo Rivals finishing in 19th place with a good gain of positions, same as Lev Krutilov, 14 places gained to finish in P18 for the Ukrainian. Matvey Duganov finishes in P20 from Gilles Herman, Amir Sabarov from Gustavo Marquez de Silva, George Edgar from Sarnazy, Kian Bernard and Alex Brunner round out the 27 finishers in that race. Again, a multitude of retirements scattered over the circuit, starting with Remy Samchek, Vanessa Shilkanate, Jagrat de Troja, Gian-Matteo Rousseau, Kasper Reipold and Theo Polakan all out of the race. But there is your race winner, James Anagnostianis from Australia. Premier Racing Team, that's another qualifying heat win. Puts himself in a really strong position now, as we'll be heading to the lunch break very, very soon. I suspect the lunch break will be pretty short, as we are a little bit behind schedule at the moment due to obviously the wet weather conditions and the multitude of retirements that we have had, way more than we've expected. Here's the highlights from the race you saw there. George Edgar, not the start he would have wanted, missing out on a good getaway at the beginning of that one. Anagnostiatis, good start for him as well, holding it onto the track. There you can see Jacopo Martinez going on the curb on the inside. There are a smattering of others as well at the beginning of that one, all not having the results they would have wanted. And again, the shaky starts there all the way throughout multiple different racing lines as you see the drivers all funnel into single file over the bridge. That's how and round the number 28 went. That was not what we wanted to see. Gustavo da Silva, who did still finish that race and still finished 6 places up, but in 23rd, was rotated there on the opening lap. A little bit of contact with another. Race continuing though, and well, Kenzo Craigie got him to second place pretty early on. Lap number 2, he'd got past Christian Costoya, and spent the entire race trying to close up that gap. Unfortunately, wouldn't go his way. Then we saw the likes of Roman Kamiab and Sebastian Mins starting to make their way through the race. That was through the field, I should say. That was the first initial overtake. This was later on when the two started battling with each other. That allowed Christian Costoya to break away a little bit, and Costoya, I think, was hoping at that point that these two would continue fighting. But I think they got the message from the mechanics saying, what are you doing? Work together, push forward, and get on with it. And then later on, they did get on with it, and they started to overtake. And this time, they got past Costoya. Firstly, though, with Roman Kamiab getting through, and then later on, Sebastian Mins getting through. You can see here the title line on the exit, just getting a wheel on side and keeping it in tow, getting through. And there you can see Costoya just getting caught out a little bit on the grass on the exit, so certainly not the result he would have wanted there. Remy Samchek, disaster for him, a self-spin and massive frustration for the driver, and he would not be happy with that one at all. But for James Anagnostianis, he will be happy. That's his second qualifying heat win out of 5 races that he's had now, and he's put himself in a really strong position at the end of his first half of the day. One more race to go before we go into a very short break. It is Heat 26 for the senior category. It's qualifying Heat 13 overall, and it's qualifying Heat B versus G. 11 laps, 15-kilometer race distance. And we see Joe Turney back out on circuit for this one for the second time today. Fresh after his 4th qualifying heat win earlier on. Certainly a very strong performance for him. But we'll see them in a little bit out on track as the cleanup operation still underway on the circuit. 3 karts on the trailer that's currently heading down the back straight, picking up another driver. There is Joe Turney on your screen. And again, superb effort for him so far this weekend. Cool, calm, collected. No drama that he's got to think about right now. Just keep doing what he's doing. He's got the clear visor on. If we can get the close shots of him with the visor, you see they had the focus on his face out there in the wet, raining conditions. But so far, we'll just have to see what we can do. This time, he's got to deal with fellow countryman Zach Drummond on the Paralin chassis, who will be starting on the outside of row number 1 for the next one. But for Joe Turney, that win earlier on certainly puts him in a good spot. Loveway Sam Budler, who starts just behind him as well, didn't have the results he wanted in the last one. 22nd place for the South African. Certainly needs to dig deep in this one. And the same for Elliot Kaczynski. It was a little further down, but a P6 nonetheless. His best result of the weekend. There's Zach Drummond on your screen. DNF in the first race of the weekend, but came back stronger in the second day. Certainly delivered over the course of that one. A win and a 3rd for him. He's chucked on his wet helmet. This is the kind of shiny acrylic one that he's got. Obviously, his dry helmet is a matte shade, and he's not risking putting that one on in these wet, rainy conditions. But he starts as one of the front row of the grid. And again, we'll keep a very close eye on what he can do out today, because we have not seen him out on track in these wet, rainy conditions this morning. This will be Group G's first race of the day. So again, just remember that for the drivers on that inside line, these tyres that they're using are used. Loveway Sam Budler there on your screen for Kart Republic. Like I say, had that spin in the race earlier on and did not have the result he would have wanted, despite his great results in the dry yesterday and in time qualifying, of course. But 6th and 2 4th places yesterday. But that 22nd place certainly on the back foot. Rain is still holding off, I believe. I think there's a little bit of mist coming back in the air right now for the drivers, meaning we're going to have wet racing conditions throughout the day here. I would be amazed if we see slick tyres out over the course of the day, but, well, we'll have to wait and see. Engines fire up, drivers make the way out. Let's take you through the starting lineup. It's Joe Turney and Drummond on row number 1, Loveway Sam Budler and David Cosma on row 2. Elliot Kaczynski and Tom Dussel go from row 3. They'll have Sebastian Corpang and Matt Corby, Alpak Soy and Vanguard Clementson with Andy Consani and Tom Luyer on row 6. Matthias Morgato and Antonio Kavalkin. They'll have Timo Jungling and Santino Panetta with Hotian Deng and Austin Lee on row 9. Suleiman Zamfari and Cole Hewitson on row 10. They'll have Harry Hannum and Augustine Sepulveda on row 11. Michael Adair and Oscar Repetto round of the top 12 rows. Ludovico Busso and Xavier Avramides go from row 13. They'll have Hugo Besson and Mika Lamasquare on row 14. Rylan Eschberg rounds out the 29 karts on track. Now, the lunch break is due to happen after this race, but the start time for the beginning race after the lunch break is 1:20 local time, and we have still got a race to go, and it's 1:05 local time right now. So I suspect, yes, we're going to be in a little bit of a tight schedule here all the way throughout the day. But as the field goes on, let's just see what happens here, because as the drivers get their temperature up into the tyres, and let's see what happens over the course of this one, because right now this is just going to be an interesting one here, because like you say, the inside row, Group B, they've done multiple races now. This will be going on to their 5th qualifying heat of the weekend. But for the drivers on the inside row, on the outside going in towards turn 1, the even side of the grid, Drummond, Cosma, Dussel, Corby, Clementson, Luyer, Kavalkin, Panetta, Lee, Hewitson, Sepulveda, Repetto, Avramides and Lamassuere. They are have only done 3 qualifying heats, and they are on a fresh set of wet tyres because they've not been out today in these conditions. There is Agustin Sepulveda. Unfortunately, the driver from Chile is not going any further in this one. He was due to start 22nd on the grid, but as you can see, mechanical gremlins have clearly plagued his kart, and he will go no further, which is a huge shame. Well, the rest of the field are ready to line up then. Joe Turney and Zach Drummond, first time they'll have raced together today, and these two have raced against each other and this season so far in this category, so have certainly got their work cut against them here. Into the tram lines. Are we going green? Yes, we are. We are racing and down in towards turn 1, and it's a good start for Turney. Sweeps to the outside there to try and take the optimal line. All the drivers get through. Some drivers getting caught out on the exit grass there of turn number 1. And there's someone on the inside of the banking there on the grass. That's the suboptimal way, and there is a spin at turn number 1 as well. So there is a kart off the track under the bridge. Now there are marshals heading to the scene, and we'll try and figure out who they are in a few moments' time. But a spin under the bridge, never a fun thing to have. Matt Corby could be one of them. Anatoly Gavalkin has not come through. Agustin Sepulveda, we know he retired, and Mika Lamassoure also has had drama, and there's yellow flags into the final sector. And I think that could be the reason why we've got retirements in parts of the circuit that we shouldn't have even had drivers on. So I suspect we've had retirements before the race even started. And there is a multitude of yellow flags out there. Kaczynski on the outside there trying to get involved and trying to get his kart back down the inside. Not able to do so. Stays right behind and pushes himself forward right now in this race. We'll keep a close eye on this one as the whole train crosses the start-finish line now. Let's take you through it. It's Turney who leads the way into the yellow flags. Loveaway Sam Budler holding on to second place, but down the inside goes the 347 of Timo Jungling. And, well, rightly so, Andy Consani throws up his hand in protest there, saying, well, Timo, you've just overtaken under yellows there. There's a yellow flag waving right in front of you through turn 1, and you've just gone past me. So unless he gives it back, of course, he might be in a spot of bother there at the end of this race. But that's certainly, we spoke about it again. We spoke about it in the early stages of this race. You know, the tunnel vision that kicks in. Drivers sometimes, they're so focused on dealing with the overtake that they've got ahead of them, or the battle that they're dealing with, that they don't focus on the yellow flashing lights at the side of the circuit. So, yeah, again, might be in a spot of bother there. But this man here, this is a much better start for him. Loveaway Sam Budler, second place for him, is up 1 spot, pushing his way through. The battle for second is on. Zach Drummond is there with Elliot Kaczynski. Now they are piling on the pressure, but let's see what happens in this race, because this is the first time that we've seen Drummond in these wet conditions this morning, and we know that he's a quick pedaler in both dry and wet conditions. He's very well known for that, racing in the British Kart Championships and, of course, in the UK for multiple years before heading over to Europe. And let's see what he can do in this one as the rain continues to fall here, just very slightly in PF International in the Lincolnshire countryside. Turney, again, masterclass in these wet conditions, despite the fact that he used the tyres earlier on, is 4.6 seconds further up the road from this battle here. Kaczynski, trying to go down the inside there of Drummond. Not going to work out. You just can't get the power down soon enough out of the hairpin. So again, you've got to just think, what can you do here? But we'll have to see, as Loveaway Sam Budler is going to be under pressure here right now. Drummond is closing right in. We'll just have to see if we can get the move done. Looks to the inside there through the Mike Wilson complex. Not close enough. Tries it again in the second part of the complex. This time gets through. Squeezes past as well. Does Elliot Kaczynski. And they both get past Loveaway Sam Budler, who now drops to P4 now. Sebastian Corpeng is just behind. He's got a clear gap from himself and Timo Jungling. But Jungling, we saw it earlier on, might be in a spot of bother here, so he's going to try and deliver all he can in this race to try and open up the gap as much as he can. but we'll have to see. There you can see the retiring carts all over the circuit there. There was one of the, it looked like an energy course, or was it the VDK? No, it was the VDK of Matt Corby that retired from the race. And like we were saying, Anatoly Gavalkin and Ludovic Abuso, also the other retirements in this one. Augustin Sepulveda is still in this race. He's just crossed the start-finish line now. Quite some way down, though, in the order. Currently running in P26 out on track. Lap number 4 now of this race. Turner leads away from Drummond, Kaczynski, Sambudla, Korpeng, Youngling from Morgato, Cosma from Kansani, Aksoy from Panetta, the top 11. Eyes on this battle here as they go through. Some of the big movers out there, though. Michael Adair, we saw him making moves earlier on. He has just dropped down to 13th place, but he's still up 10 places in this race. Rylan Eschberg as well. We've not said much about him over the course of this weekend. The driver of the number 355 is currently up 12 places right now into P17 and is pushing his way through the field. We'll have to see if he can gain any more as the race goes on. But let's see what happens in this race. Lap 5 of 11. Still Turney with setting fastest laps of the race as well. It's not just the fact that he's in the lead, it's the fact that he's consistently going purple in all the sectors. I mean, not this time in Sector 1, but he's doing 1:14.2 now. This is rapid pace, and the drivers behind, I mean, let's look at it. Zach Drummond from Parallel Motorsport, his fastest lap in this race is a 1:15.7, and that is the second fastest time out on circuit. Joe Turney has done a 1:14.2. I mean, if Turney's looking to make a statement this weekend, he's certainly doing that. There he is in the lead, the 2:03. And is that a case of a testament of, is the track conditions improving out there a little bit? I mean, it is absolutely soaking wet still, don't get me wrong. But the pace that he's got right now is showing that he's got great control over his wagon. There you can see the intermediate classification points. Turney, at this moment, undefeated, is looking at maximum 250 points to his name. Gilly Amias is currently second with that. But the drivers who are in this race, Kaczynski at the moment is currently fourth with 165. Now, if he can get past Drummond, that will help him out a little bit, but it won't benefit him because Van Langendonk is another 5 points ahead, and the points difference between third and second is not that great. Kaczynski, Sam Budler as well, up fifth in the point standing. Werrell's gone down, so is Siliminar. Drummond is up to 8th in the intermediate classification, as well as Cosma is up into 19th place, or 9th place as well in the IC. Action here on your screens as down the inside, you can see Loveaway Sam Budler having to deal with the likes of Sebastian Korpeng. Korpeng, though, not able to close in too far, and then it's Morgato that's closing in. Matis Morgato, another driver who we've not spoken about much on this one. We spoke about him in his last one as he had a spin on his opening lap, recovered back nicely in the race, but this time a much stronger start to his race. Up 7 places in this one. He's got Youngling for company, but of course Youngling, I suspect, won't be in that position at the end, but again, we'll talk about that later on. But there, Morgato, Youngling, Cosma, Consani still line astern, and Consani starting to close in as well. You can see him there in the banking, trying to latch on to the group up ahead. But all of these drivers here, thick and fast, trying to deal with this one now as we see the different racing lines again. Loveaway Sam Budler takes that normal optimal racing line in the wet conditions out of the bridge. And Sebastian Korpeng there is just trying to get it down the inside. He's doing it again here at hairpin 1. Hairpin 1, you can't get the power down. Hairpin 2, however, is a different story. Usually when you take the normal line, it works out better than the wet line, because there you've just seen it from Timo Youngling. He took the wet racing line there, and he's even further back than what Morgato was now on Sebastian Korpeng. Here he goes down the inside in towards the Bobby Game corner, and through goes Matthias Morgato. He gets another position there up into P5. These Brazilians certainly on a charge here, pushing through the field now. That's a gain of 8 places, as he's got Loveaway Sam Budler for company just up ahead now. On to lap number 8 of 11. Rylan Eschberg's just picked up a warning flag. We were talking about him gaining those positions earlier on. But right now, he's in a position where the stewards are keeping a close eye on him, and so are race control. Well, let's just see what happens, because right now, all the way throughout this one, all the way, we can see that these gaps are just ever increasing here at the front. Turney, who took the win by over 10 seconds earlier on, is looking to repeat that here again. Morgato, though, has got through. So now is Timo Jungling. Jungling now past Sam Budler. Sam Budler on the back foot here, a bit of twitching under braking there for the Sodi kart. Gets it back into line and tries to regain control here and try and chase down Matthias Morgato. Now, could Morgato close in on Kaczynski? The gap between those two right now is 6 seconds. That's a tall order with the laps that we've got remaining. It's kind of a long way to go right now. There are still battles happening thick and fast down the field. I think Michael Adair and Austin Lee for 10th and 11th place are having a good scrap. Michael Adair up 13 places. Is still having a good scrap as they cross over the start-finish line now. They're in one big group. Austin Lee as well just behind. Santino Panetta, Hugo Besson's just got past Alpac Soy in that last lap. Tom Loulier and Rylan Eschberg both getting past Tom Dussel. Also, Dussel going backwards in the order. Here, though, on your screen, Joe Turney breaking away at the front here. No drama whatsoever for him. I can imagine for him it's just, well, a nice, calm drive on a Saturday in the rain. I mean, he's just, you know, this is PFI. He said at the beginning of this weekend he's not been back here for 6 years. He's had a lengthy break away. He's been racing out over in America. He's been racing fiercely in Europe, battling within the Champions of the Future and, of course, in the FIA categories as well. But here in the United Kingdom has just been delivering superb results. Look at the weight that you've got before Drummond comes into shot. That is extraordinary. The gap is now, again, over 10 seconds between Turney and Drummond. Superb. Kaczynski's right there behind. He's done a great job sticking with Drummond. Matthias Morgato, he's not going to close in at all on this one. In fact, the gap has opened up to over 6 seconds now. It's 6.3 seconds. So Timo Jungling is still in a position there of being able to close in. Timo Jungling still in a really strong position there. As a Marshall running past our screens. Yellow flags are out. Who's dropping down the order on our screens here? Now I'm seeing maybe Cole Hewitson, maybe Sepulveda. They're still running at the back. It might be them, but again, I'm not too sure. And there it is. It's the 340. So it is. It's Cole Hewitson. Unfortunately, the Beyond Racing Team driver going no further, as off the track goes Elliot Kaczynski there at Bobby Game corner. Kaczynski all over that exit curb. That might give Morgato the opportunity to close in, because now the gap's come down considerably. But we're on the final lap of the race, so I suspect it's not going to be enough time at all. Joe Turney, though, however, this has been an absolute masterclass. He's coming up to the back here of the DPK of Agustin Sepulveda. He is nearly lapping drivers in this race who haven't even had a spin yet in this one. That just kind of shows the pace. Blue flags are out there, giving the position away. Agustin Sepulveda there adhering to the blue flags very nicely to Joe Turney. Actually, if we can stick behind him right now, he might learn how to get around this track in the wet conditions, because this is a superb drive again. 11.6 seconds is the gap at this stage of the race. I suspect it'll be even higher when we cross the start-finish line. But again, another masterclass drive here from the Briton, who I suspect is probably getting a little bit tired of being at the front here right now this weekend. He's enjoyed it so much being on his own. He's not even had to battle and hold on to a place. Across the line, Joe Turney takes his 5th qualifying heat win of the weekend. An absolutely superb drive for the driver in Group B. He's got one more qualifying heat to go today. Of course, these drivers seeing 6 qualifying heats over the weekend due to the amount of drivers. 215 drivers entered this weekend. So many qualifying heats had to be organised in the categories. But for Joe Turney, he takes a superb, dominant performance win. Drummond finishes in second. His second best result of the weekend. Kaczynski finishes in P3. That is his best result of the weekend. Loveaway Budler finishes in P6. He matches his second best result of the weekend. Still better than his 22nd place later on in the weekend. The rest of the field, though, it is Matthias Morgato finishing in P4, Timo Jungling from Loveaway Budler, David Kozma finishing in P7 from Andy Consani, Sebastian Corpen from Austin Lee, Michael Adair from Hugo Besson, Harry Hannum, Panetta finishing in P14 from Ryland Eschberg in P15, all gaining positions. All these drivers now, all kind of losses of positions. Alpak Soy, Oscar Repetto, Tom Louier, Tom Dussel, Xavier Avramidis, Hotian Deng, Vengar Clemenson, Mika Lamasera, Suleiman Zamfari, Augustine Sepulveda, all finishing in the top 25. Cole Hewitson, Matt Corby, Anatoly Kavalkin, and Ludovico Busso round out the retirements in that race. But there, Joe Turney, another class of his own there, and probably saying to himself, should we check that engine? Should we make it's not accidentally a KZ engine on there, because he's pushed so incredibly far in these races. Here's a look at the highlights from it. The start of that race, nice and calm for the front runners. A little bit shaky in the background there. Some drivers getting squeezed onto the outside. I think Matt Corby being one of them and Vegard Clemenson being the other, and drivers who went off at the beginning of that one as well. I think Ludovico Busso was one, Anatoly Kavalkin, and of course Matt Corby as well. We lost in the 309 later on in the race. Down the inside here, you can see David Kozma trying to push through this time around, not taking that exit curb too hard. Really in a tough spot for him. Kaczynski in the early stages, certainly pushing as well. Not having the start he would have wanted though, as he pushes it down the order. But again, he'll have to battle thick and fast throughout this one. Here you can see Drummond going through, but he would take that second place spot away. No way near catching Joe Turney. Loveaway Budler, though, would have to battle away with the drivers closing in behind in the form of Morgato and Jungling. Up to 4th and 5th place for them. No drama at all. You can see here Morgato down the inside. A little bit of contact between the two of them there. Sam Budler going wide. That allowed Timo Jungling to get through, and he both moved through, up through the orders. No drama between them whatsoever. Loveaway Sam Budler then would have to drop down to 6th place, but still a good result. David Kozma, Andy Consani, and Sebastian Corpeng. Austin Lee still running at the top 10. It would be Joe Turney who would take the win, though, over the line, clear by 11.9 seconds from the rest of the field. Let's see what happens then. More races coming up thick and fast. There would have been a lunch break now, but unfortunately, well, I think we have got a 30-minute break, actually. Now, we were due to start the next race at 1:20, but I think they're committing with the lunch break, which is good to see. So we are going to take a half-an-hour break. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back with the second half of the racing in a few moments' time.